Chapter 1794. This guy really dares to take advantage of anyone. Xiaoyu and the other members of the Xiang clan felt a chill run down their spines. Although they had never met Duanmu Rong before, this icy beauty's reputation had spread far and wide. As allies of the Mo clan, Xiaoyu and the other members of the Xiang clan had heard of her. Without exception, they all imitated Master Ban and the others and took a few steps back. It doesn't seem like a fever. The atmosphere was stiff for a moment. Dustless found it strange, but he didn't pay it much mind. He withdrew his right hand and frowned. Could it be that your snake venom has relapsed? You're underestimating me. Duanmu Rong looked straight at Dustless. Seeing his calm eyes, she snorted and turned to leave. Really, why does this woman look like she ate gunpowder? She's so angry. Dustless was speechless. He just wanted to see if Duanmu Rong had a fever or some other illness. He didn't have any ill intentions. Miss Duanmu, please wait for me. Dustless hurried after her, not forgetting to shout, if the venom hasn't been completely removed, just say the word and this one will be willing to die for you. The Snow Woman and Old Man Ban were both dumbstruck as they watched Duanmu Rong leave with Wu Chen. The two of them stared at each other, catching the shock in each other's eyes. Old Ban, are my eyes playing tricks on me? After a moment of silence, Snow Maiden took the initiative to approach Old Ban. It's a miracle that Sister Rong didn't beat him up. Who knows? Old Ban stroked his beard and shook his head. A woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea. The most complicated thing in the world is not the most sophisticated mechanism, but a woman's heart. Old Ban was so emotional that he had even put away his kitchen knife, afraid that Duanmu Rong would chop Dustless to death. But reality had given him a slap in the face. Duanmu Rong wasn't angry. Please come in. Old Ban couldn't be bothered to think about these trivial matters. He began to greet the other guests, especially Gunia. Although Gunia had a grudge against the Mo clan, Zhu Zi had ordered the Mo clan to treat Gunia well. Even though Old Ban was dissatisfied, he could only swallow his anger. In order to survive in this chaotic world, only by knowing how to endure patiently would one be able to accumulate strength and soar to the heavens in the end. Greetings, Master Ban. The people from the Xiang clan of Chu were obviously much more familiar with Old Ban. They were smiling in a relaxed manner. It wasn't hard to see that they had a lot of dealings with each other. Why is Miss Duanmu so angry? Did I do something wrong? Dustless, who felt wronged, said gloomily, there's a saying that it's the greatest virtue to be able to correct your mistakes. Even if I've done something wrong, why don't you tell me? What's wrong with Gunia? I heard that he was injured, but why was there no sign at all? Although that fellow's complexion is slightly pale, his complexion is vigorous, and his footsteps are steady and vigorous. He's clearly fine. Duanmu Rong said coldly. This, you saw through it? As expected of the medical sage. Dustless did not try to hide it any longer. He said, Miss Duanmu, why do you care about such things? Everyone's fate is secretly determined by the heavens. Gunia is not destined to die. Furthermore, if there's anyone to blame for this, I personally feel that you should be the one to blame. You, Duanmu Rong was speechless. She had heard the reason for Gunia's appearance from Master Ban. The Mo clan's great master wanted to borrow Gunia's strength to deal with Yingzheng. Thus, even though they were enemies in the past, they were now on the same side. You were the one who treated that fellow's injuries? After hearing Dustless's words, Duanmu Rong's complaints were greatly reduced. She looked at Dustless in surprise. I didn't know that you were hiding something. Dustless smiled lightly and said frankly, in the pugilistic world, it's easy to dodge a spear in the open, but hard to avoid a stab in the dark. Injuries are inevitable. Learn more skills to protect yourself, and your life will be more secure. You're smart. Duanmu Rong agreed with Dustless's thoughts. Then, she said with lingering fear, thank you for what you did before. If it weren't for you, and I would have been in the underworld. That's not important. Dustless shook his head. Just as he was about to speak, Duanmu Rong's voice rang out once again. There's news that Lu Sha and the Qin Kingdom have joined forces and are targeting the Mo clan. The enemy is coming at us aggressively. This place is no longer suitable for setting up camp. Our whereabouts have been exposed. I plan to leave this place immediately. As soon as she finished speaking, Duanmu Rong looked at Dustless, as if she was trying to find a way for Dustless to leave. Go to Mechanical City? When Dustless heard this, his eyes lit up. After coming to this world, he still had two things to collect. One was the yellow stone heavenly book, which seemed to be in the hands of Chu Nangong. The other was the 7 lunar mansions of the Azure Dragon. Dustless did not know where they were at the moment. However, the Mo clan had an important item related to the 7 lunar mansions of the Azure Dragon, the Phantasmal Sound Treasure Box. Dustless was determined to get this item. It was also the key to unlocking the secret of the 7 lunar mansions of the Azure Dragon. Miss Duanmu, to be honest, after sorting out his thoughts, Dustless said desolately, my clan was annihilated by Yingzheng. I am absolutely irreconcilable with the entire Qin kingdom. I also wish to participate in the plan to deal with the Qin kingdom led by the Mo clan. Is that so? Yingzheng is indeed the source of all the disasters in the world. In the end, justice will eradicate the villains of Yingzheng. Duanmu Rong said bitterly. At the same time, she nodded in agreement with Dustless. Thank you, Miss Duanmu. When Dustless heard this, he smiled faintly. Of course, this sad family story was made up by him. Who was good and who was bad was not important to Dustless. Both sides had their own opinions and felt that they were right. In the eyes of Yingzheng, the Mo clan and the 100 schools of thought were malignant tumors that ruined the empire. They had to be eradicated. In the eyes of the 100 schools of thought, Yingzheng was a heartless butcher that everyone had the right to kill. In fact, in Dustless's opinion, both sides had their own reasons. It was just that their standpoints were different. There was no such thing as good or evil. The winner was justice. Chapter 1795. Phew. It's a success to sneak into Mo clan's mechanical city. Dustless heaved a sigh of relief and started to change the topic. Speaking of which, Mo clan has a lot of potential allies. Confucianism, Taoism, Xiong clan. All in all, most of the anti-Qin forces were related to Mo clan. The evils we bring upon ourselves are the hardest to bear. It's not that we have a lot of like-minded people, it's just that Yingzheng has offended too many people. Duanmu Rong's lips curled up slightly. She was very happy to see Yingzheng suffer. Dustless smiled but did not say anything. Perhaps Yingzheng was not a good person and had angered everyone. Even if he was defeated and killed in the future, who would be the next emperor? Who could be sure that they would do a better job than Yingzheng? All of these were floating question marks. Therefore, Dustless also didn't want to participate in it. The matters of these sects were the most troublesome and irritating. Obviously, both sides weren't good people, yet they insisted on hanging the so-called justice and punishing evil and speaking good words in their mouths. Of course, it was still possible to use the power of Mo clan to find the Yellowstone Heavenly Book and the 7 mansions of Azure Dragon. Grumble. At this moment, Dustless's stomach grumbled uncooperatively. He scratched his head awkwardly and smiled embarrassedly. Your appetite is ridiculous. Duanmu Rong rolled her eyes. It was rare for Duanmu Rong to roll her eyes. She glanced at Dustless and left directly. It seemed like she was going to make lunch. Really, cold on the outside but warm on the inside. She seems to be tough but soft. She's just like the rumors. And she's so good at pretending. What a dishonest woman. Dustless's lips curled up into a faint smile. At this moment, he suddenly felt a hand grabbing him. He turned around and frowned when he saw the person. Kid, staring at the young man who was half a body shorter than him, Dustless asked, Why are you looking for me? I remember that you dislike me a lot. Of course not. The young man's eyes narrowed into crescents. He quickly denied, Other than uncle, you're my second idol. This person was Tianming. Your second idol? I'm really shocked. Dustless pretended to be surprised and looked at Tianming. Out of curiosity, he asked, One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. Boy, what do you want from me? Hehehehe. Tianming laughed even more happily when he heard this. Can you teach me your skill of shooting out light? Sure enough, he's a kid who likes to dream. Dustless shook his head and looked at Tianming, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. You're not suited for martial arts. Compared to martial arts, you're more suited to be a comedian. The so-called skill of shooting light was actually the ability of the glint fruit. It was impossible for it to be given to others. Tianming wanting to learn it was no different from a fool's dream. Go and learn swordsmanship from your uncle. Dustless patted Tianming's head and walked past him. Stingy. Tianming groaned unhappily as he complained with great dissatisfaction. You're really a kid who likes to dream. Do you think you can learn it just because you want to? Dustless couldn't help but shake his head. At the same time he murmured, the jade pendant hanging around that kid's neck is really extraordinary. Where did it come from? Dustless still remembered that in the original work, many people felt that the jade pendant hanging around Tianming's neck was strange. When he took a closer look, Dustless also found that it was different. Although it was an item of the mortal world, it had an indescribable ethereal aura and an extraordinary immortal charm. Haha, a malicious laughter came from the front again. Dustless frowned slightly. Tianming, I said I won't teach you, so it's Master Ban. He raised his head and saw that the person who came into view was not Tianming, but Master Ban, an expert of the Mo family, who was proficient in mechanism techniques. Master, what's the matter? Dustless looked at the smiling old man in surprise. He didn't remember having any friendship with him. To put it bluntly, they had only met once, and they hadn't even spoken much to each other. Mr. Dustless calling me Master is too much for this old man. Just call me Old Man Ban. It makes me feel better. Old Man Ban sincerely hoped that Dustless would change his way of addressing him. It felt strange to be called Big Hand by an expert. Well, Old Man Ban, why are you looking for me? Could it be that you also want to ask about my background? Dustless nodded and said, I don't belong to any sect. I'm just a passerby in the mortal world. I have no power or influence, so there's nothing worth investigating. Mr. Dustless is too modest. Nobles and generals are all the same. Old Man Ban waved his hand. He had heard from the Snow Girls and Duanmu Rong that Dustless was strangely powerful. Even if he was really immortal, his strength couldn't be underestimated. Would you like to join the House of Moism? Old Man Ban's eyes lit up as he stated his bargaining chip. The House of Moism still lacks a leader. You are the perfect person to take on this task. Join the House of Moism. Hearing this, Dustless fell silent. There was some resistance in his heart. The House of Moism's doctrine was to love all beings with impartiality. It really didn't suit someone like Dustless. On the contrary, the teachings of the school of Yin-Yang and the school of Taoism were more suitable for him. I once swore that I wouldn't join any faction. After pondering for a while, Dustless decisively refused. However, if the House of Moism needs my help, I'm willing to do something within my power. Of course, this condition was limited to Duanmu Rong. After all, she had helped Dustless, so it was only natural for her to repay a little. Is that so? That's good. Hearing this, Old Man Ban stroked his white beard. Although he was dissatisfied with Dustless's refusal, he had heard the answer he wanted. This place has been spied on by the Qin Kingdom's lackey, Quicksand. It's not safe anymore. Would you like to go to Mechanical City with me? Old Man Ban asked expectantly. The House of Moism's Mechanical City has been used by the people of the world. I'd be more than happy to see it. Dustless didn't even think about it before agreeing. Just then, something strange happened. Chapter 1796. White feathers rained down from the blue sky. There were so many of them that they covered the entire sky. They drifted down from the clear sky onto the tranquil lake before finally disappearing. How can it snow on such a clear day? What the hell is this? A goose feather? Old Man Ban grabbed a fluffy feather and sniffed it a few times. After muttering to himself for a while, he muttered with a blank expression, It doesn't smell like a goose feather. It doesn't have the unique smell of a goose. Instead, it smells noble and elegant. Damn it, when did animals become so clean? Could it be a duck feather? Old Ban's eyes lit up. I remember that there were many wild ducks around the lake. They would come out every summer. Now is the time for them to be active. This old man, sometimes, his thoughts really jump around. Dustless stared speechlessly at Old Ban. He also grabbed a feather and frowned. This isn't a goose feather or a duck feather. If I'm not wrong, it should be the wing of a bird. A bird? Old Ban was stunned. He looked up at the sky and said suspiciously, "There are thousands of feathers in the sky. How can there be such a big bird? Also, this isn't the habitat of migratory birds." Such an abnormality can only mean one thing. Crack, crack, crack. Energy surged in his palm, shattering the feather. Dustless's expression turned solemn. In Wei Zhuang's quicksand, there's an expert who's good at controlling birds, Bai Feng. That's right. I know this person. Gunia and the others walked out of the wooden hut. They were also confused by the fluffy fur that filled the entire sky. It was as majestic as a snowstorm. Legend has it that Bai Feng is as handsome as jade. His lightness skills are unparalleled, and his strength is rarely seen in the world. It's said that within quicksand, his strength is second only to Wei Zhuang's. Gunia's tone was heavy and solemn. Although Dustless had healed him, he hadn't fully recovered. He still needed some time to recuperate. His fighting strength wasn't at its peak yet. But then again, how did he find this place? Xiaoyu's master, Master Fan, asked in confusion. Only the disciples of the school of Moism know the route to Miss Duanmu's Mirror Lake Medical Manor. Why did the enemy come so quickly? It's probably because of Qi Lian. That fellow was repelled by me. She must have investigated the terrain here before and is probably very familiar with it. There's a high chance that she was the one who informed Bai Feng. Dustless guessed. Duanmu Rong also walked out of the kitchen and looked at the goose feathers in the sky with caution. These wolves are relentless in their pursuit. Old Man Ban sighed with an apologetic expression. Originally, I was planning to entertain my guests and treat them to a feast. But now, it seems that I have no choice but to return to the Mahist clan's mechanical city for the time being. Everyone gently nodded in agreement with Old Ban's approach. The drifting sands and Great Qin had joined hands, and it was rumored that Ying had even sent many of his elite iron-armored army to Wei Zhuang. Perhaps it was just Bai Feng now, but if things continued to drag on, it would eventually be the entire iron cavalry of Great Qin Empire. Ao. A sharp cry resounded through the sky, and the originally clear sky instantly darkened. Everyone looked up and was stunned. Look at the sky. What's that? Hearing this, everyone looked up at the vast sky in a daze. The void was filled with countless densely packed black dots. There were so many of them that they had never seen before. It's not a living thing. Could it be the Gongshu clan's mechanical beasts? Dustless looked up at the sky. Compared to the others, his dynamic strength was shocking. Through the sky full of feathers, he could see at a glance the scene 100 meters above him. They were all mechanical beasts that looked like bats. Mechanical beasts? Old Ban's heart sank slightly. That old man Gongshu Cho actually took advantage of this opportunity to hit us when we're down. I'll take this opportunity to humiliate him. A hoarse laugh came from outside the clinic. Everyone was stunned and looked over at the same time. A stooped old man with a slightly ferocious face appeared. You're already a turtle in a jar, yet you still dare to talk nonsense. This old man has a new understanding of the Mo family. Compared to the careful work of making mechanical beasts, your Mo family may be better at using a glib tongue. The old man riding the mechanical snake was getting closer and closer. The curved snake's body was ridiculously thick, even bigger than a person. Dustless happened to know this old man who was familiar with Old Ban. Gongshu Cho? Dustless's eyes narrowed slightly. He knew the identity of the old man at a glance. Seeing his smug look, he sneered. Old men who don't die are thieves. You're so eloquent. It seems you're the thief saint among thieves. Ha! Everyone from the Mo family was grinning from ear to ear. They stared at Wu Chen in astonishment. Not only was this guy strong, but his ability to bicker was also superb. Gong Shuqiao's old face twitched a few times. He stared at Dustless and said with a fake smile, "Young hero, are you Dustless? You're really as handsome as heroine," Qilian said. "This old man deeply admires you for being able to remain calm in such a situation, but..." Gong Shuqiao's eyes narrowed slightly. He warned fiercely, "I don't know martial arts, and your enemy is not me. This old man advises you to turn a deaf ear to the mechanical beast duel between the Mo family and the Gongshu family. If you interfere, don't blame this old man for being hostile." As soon as he finished speaking, Gong Shuqiao pulled the lever that controlled the mechanical snake. The latter suddenly opened its mouth full of sharp teeth. Everyone's expression changed slightly at the sight of the steel teeth. This huge monster was not something a human could match. Chapter 1797. This guy is so despicable. The others didn't know the inside story, but Duanmu Rong, who knew the inside story, had a murderous look in her eyes, and her delicate face was covered with a layer of cold frost. "Miss Duanmu, what's wrong?" "To tell you the truth, although I didn't see the peerless beauty of the Mahist mechanical beasts, how could they be defeated by the Gongshu family's tyrannical mechanical arts?" Dustless saw Duanmu Rong's cold appearance and keenly sensed something was wrong. "This kind of thing, if it was in the past, I naturally wouldn't intervene. This is related to the grievances between the Mahist and Gongshu families, and there must be a day when they are resolved, but the current situation is different." Duanmu Rong took the initiative to approach Dustless and whispered, "The Mahist doctrine advocates love with impartiality and non-aggression. Most of the mechanical beasts are tools to help people, and they are all made to save manpower." This guy really knows how to talk nonsense. Dustless rolled his eyes and snorted at Duanmu Rong's words. She didn't mean what she said, and silently slandered in her heart. The Mahist's 4 great mechanical beasts, Azure Dragon, Vermilion Bird, Black Tortoise, and White Tiger, are all used to attack. They are even more ferocious than the tyrannical mechanical arts of the Gongshu family. But on the surface, Dustless's expression didn't change. He pretended to be at a loss and asked, "The mechanical beasts are huge. Did Old Ban not bring his mechanical beasts?" "That's not it." Duanmu Rong's face was full of worry. "When Old Ban came, he only brought a mechanical bird. How can it fight with the Gongshu family's mechanical snake? There is no need to compete at all. We are doomed to lose." "I see." Dustless suddenly understood. The mechanical bird was not aggressive. Normally, it was only used for reconnaissance and had no fighting power. But now, Gong Shuqiao wanted to compete with Old Ban. Wasn't this taking advantage of the situation? Duanmu Rong despised this guy, but there was nothing she could do. "Old man, I'll be your opponent." Under the shocked gazes of Duanmu Rong and the others, Dustless took a few steps forward magnanimously, and his tranquil eyes were suffused with a wisp of interest. "This snake looks ferocious and mighty, but that's only on the surface. Maybe he's just like you on the inside, a golden jade on the outside but rotten on the inside." Calmly looking at Gong Shuqiao, Wuchen provoked, "Old man, bring it on." "Humph, sharp-tongued bastard, you're courting death." Unable to bear it any longer, Gong Shuqiao finally exploded. No matter what, he was an old man and an important minister of Yingzheng. Yet, after being mocked and scolded by Dustless again and again, he was filled with anger. Gong Shuqiao, that idiot, was infuriated by that guy's words. Above the void, a large pure white bird was flying back and forth, soaring in the sky. On the back of the bird stood a handsome young man with an extraordinary temperament. Taking a closer look, this person was none other than Bai Feng from Quicksand. Since this guy can defeat Qi Lian, I reckon he has some skills. Bai Feng, who had excellent eyesight, looked down at both parties who were confronting each other on the ground, putting on an elegant posture as if it had nothing to do with her. What an eyesore! Dustless raised his head and looked at the sky. The sharp whistling of the large bird flying in the sky made people's ears go numb, and its eagle-like eyes were extremely sharp, like a hunter sizing up its prey, occasionally revealing a playful look. "It's a hot day, and flying in the sky is too tiring. Why don't you go take a bath in the cold lake and relax yourself?" Dustless's eyes began to change, and the deep black pupils were replaced by 3 scarlet jade eyes. You want me to take a bath in the water? You're so considerate of others that even I don't have the heart to attack you. Bai Feng controlled the phoenix to descend, and when it was about 70 to 80 feet above Dustless's head, she crossed her arms and stared at Dustless, saying, "However, I'm afraid you don't have the ability to kick me into the lake to take a bath." As her voice fell, Bai Feng stared coldly at Dustless. Her bright eyes were as dazzling as the stars. What an arrogant fellow! Everyone from the Mo family raised their eyebrows. This fellow was extremely arrogant, but it was undeniable that this fellow had the right to be arrogant. He was strong enough. You sinister fellow, you're obviously making things difficult for Brother Dustless. If you have the ability, come down. Ur pouted and complained, at such a high distance, could Brother Dustless grow wings and attack you? If he can't do it, he can only be considered useless. It's fine to be young and frivolous, but, glancing at Dustless, Bai Feng coldly snorted and said, but it also depends on who the enemy is. Blindly speaking such arrogant words, yet you don't even have the strength to touch my body. You're just asking to be humiliated. Too pitiful. This fellow's strength is ordinary, but his poisonous mouth is extraordinarily formidable. Hearing Bai Feng's mocking words, Dustless shot a disapproving glance at her. Soon after, his enchanting 3-tomo Sharingan slowly rotated, focusing his gaze on the massive white phoenix beneath his feet. You're only Wei Zhuang's subordinate. Frankly speaking, you're just a lackey that helps the tiger do evil. You don't have the qualifications for me to take action against you. Call your master over. What did you say? Hearing this, an undetectable ferocious and vicious aura flashed across Bai Feng's face. Just as she was about to launch a sneak attack on Dustless, the large pure white bird beneath his feet suddenly went crazy without any warning. Ao 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 ao. A sharp roar resounded across the vast sky. Following this, under the confused gazes of the crowd, the large bird seemed to have gone berserk as it crazily screeched, its screeches containing endless pain. You've been hit by the illusion of the Sharingan. Enjoy it properly. A mischievous smile flashed across Dustless's face as he stared at the latrine in the distance. The strange smile at the corner of his mouth was extremely evil. Sending Bai Feng to take a bath in the icy cold lake on such a hot day would be letting him off too easily. Chapter 1798. What's going on? Bai Feng's expression turned cloudy as she stared at the berserk white phoenix beneath her feet. Her brows furrowed together in an exaggerated manner. Out of control? That's absolutely impossible. This has never happened before. Bai Feng's eyes darted around. She had no choice but to squat down and grab the bird's back to maintain her balance. If she continued to stand in the limelight like before, she would most likely fall down. Good skill. Dustless's ear-piercing voice resounded across the sky as he mocked, "What's going on? Did the beast under your feet lose control? Looks like even your mount can't tolerate someone like you." This fellow, Dustless chuckled when she heard this. She raised her head to look at the giant bird in the sky. Although she did not know what was going on, there was no doubt that Dustless was deliberately making things difficult for Bai Feng. This beast has a very stubborn temper. It actually dares to resist me. Dustless stared at the berserk bird as a contemptuous smile appeared on his face. However, this is the end. Dustless's 3-tomo Sharingan that had been dormant in his eye sockets started to rotate once again. Ao 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 ao. With the enhancement of his eye power, the pure white bird could no longer maintain its balance. Blood could be clearly seen flowing out of its beak as its miserable cries made one's scalp turn numb. Is this the doing of this fellow? How dare he? Veins popped out on Bai Feng's forehead as she clenched her fists tightly. Her heart was bleeding. The white phoenix was Bai Feng's mount when she was young. It had been more than 10 years since then. Now that it was being tortured and humiliated by Dustless, Bai Feng could empathize with it and her anger soared. Why are you looking at me so fiercely? Dustless had an innocent look as he stared at Bai Feng, who was holding the white phoenix's back tightly. He said loudly, Do you still remember that I said that I would treat you to a free bath? Now, the location has changed. Dustless pointed at the toilet and said innocently, "The toilet suits you better." "You bastard." Bai Feng, who was at the end of her patience, let loose a torrent of abuse as her eyes widened. Compared to Dustless, who was proficient in the art of scolding others, Bai Feng's angry scolding had zero effect on the former. The ancient people cultivated their moral character and were extremely concerned about their moral character. Scolding others was really not their forte. It was already commendable that Bai Feng could call him a bastard. "Get in there now." Dustless sneered and blinked his 3-tomo Sharingan again. Then, under everyone's gaze, the White Phoenix dragged its master White Phoenix towards the toilet like a falling meteor. "This guy is really filthy." Duanmu Rong's cheeks burned as she cursed Dustless in her heart for being shameless and black-hearted. Throwing a famous expert into the latrine pit, Bai Feng would never be able to raise his head again. Swish! Swish! The giant bird fell rapidly, flapping its wings, creating gusts of wind as it sped towards the latrine. "Am I going to be ruined in this guy's hands? Dream on." Bai Feng's face darkened as he waved his pale fingers. Goose feathers filled the sky as he leaped out and landed slowly on the feather-like feathers. Bai Feng's strength is not bad, especially his Qinggong, which has reached a level that ordinary people can't reach. Everyone from the Mo family and the Xiang clan of Chu country nodded their heads in amazement. To be able to land on feathers from high up in the sky, such an experienced Qinggong was rarely seen in the world. What a fool's dream. You want me to fall into the latrine pit? You are really ambitious. Bai Feng, who had landed safely, sneered as he looked around. His eyes widened slightly and his brows were tightly knitted together. He was surprised to find that Dustless had disappeared as though he had vanished from the face of the earth. What a fast speed! Everyone exclaimed. They had thought that Bai Feng's Qinggong was unparalleled in the world. However, they had not expected Dustless to surpass him. His speed was so fast that it was unprecedented. How can a person's speed be so fast? Why didn't I even see him disappear? Tianming's mouth was wide open like a fool as he tugged at the corner of Gunia's clothes. However, Gunia ignored him. Tianming looked at Gunia curiously and realized that Gunia's face was as blank as his. Where did he go? Bai Feng clenched his fists and swept them around. The humiliation that Dustless had brought to him must be returned in double. Young Master Bai Feng, the person behind you is very strange. Don't be careless. Gong Shuchou, who was hiding in the mechanical snake, reminded Bai Feng loudly. He could clearly see the flickering black wind behind Bai Feng. An evil figure and a playful silhouette were also faintly discernible. Ka. Gong Shuchou decisively pulled the lever and controlled the mechanical snake to pounce on the black figure behind Bai Feng. It's too late. Dustless took advantage of Bai Feng's carelessness to grab his right arm and kick him mercilessly. Bang! A dull explosion sounded out, and Bai Feng was sent flying by Dustless's kick like a cannonball. Bai Feng's heart sank as he saw that he was about to crash into the latrine. Could it be that my reputation will be ruined by this latrine? Bai Feng's face turned green and white. He wished that Dustless could kill him with a single blow so that he could leave behind a good name. He didn't want his name to go down in history, but he definitely didn't want to be called a latrine man. Ka. Bai Feng's body trembled violently, and his bones were about to fall apart. Bai Feng turned his head and saw that it was the mechanical snake that had appeared in the nick of time. At the crucial moment, Gong Shuchou had resolutely controlled the mechanical snake to give up on attacking Dustless and move behind Bai Feng. That was why Bai Feng had crashed into the mechanical snake. This annoying old man really likes to meddle in other people's business. Dustless smacked his lips in pity. Just as Bai Feng was about to crash into the latrine, that damned Gong Shuchou had appeared to save him and salvage Bai Feng's reputation. Chapter 1799. Bai Feng took a deep breath before she calmed down again. Damn it. His mouth was like a machine as he repeatedly muttered the same sentence. This mission had left a psychological impact on him that he would never forget. Gong Shucho actually saved Bai Feng. Dustless's thick black brows raised slightly as he sighed. As expected, family doesn't enter the same house. A mouse and a cockroach, such a combination is more suitable. The naive Yu heir was the closest to Dustless. When she heard him muttering to himself, she immediately let out a crisp laughter. Stay away from him. Be careful not to be led astray. Duanmu Rong pulled Yu heir over and covered the latter's ears in front of everyone. She even took the initiative to increase the distance between Duanmu Rong and Wu Chen. Really, this woman is not polite at all. In her eyes, I am more terrifying than Lu Sha and the Gongshu family. Dustless did not know whether to laugh or cry. Even when facing Lu Sha, Duanmu Rong did not ask Yu heir to retreat. Young hero Bai Feng, this kid is very strange. His moves are rarely seen in the world. Stroking his beard, Gong Shucho analyzed carefully. Why don't you let my mechanical snake attack and test this kid's skills, just in case? Bai Feng was silent when she heard this. She glanced at Dustless, who had a sneer on his face. Although she was very dissatisfied, she had to admit that Dustless was not the opponent she had encountered before. She might become a stepping stone for Dustless to reach the sky in one step. Lu Sha is only so. Gong Shucho was polite to Bai Feng on the surface, but in his heart he was looking down on her. Lu Sha is a world-famous Lu Sha with countless experts. However, he was defeated by one person one after another. Previously, it was Ash Wolf King and Qi Lian. Now, it seems that Bai Feng is only SOS. Gong Shucho stared at Dustless with shining eyes as he pulled the lever of the mechanical snake's attack. Old man, didn't you just say that it's a match between mechanical techniques? Are you going back on your word now? The young Tianming angrily rebuked, "You old bastard." Puchi. The originally tense atmosphere was suddenly filled with drama because of Tianming's words. It somewhat eased the oppressive atmosphere. Kid, you're right. This old bastard is going back on his words. Only a fist can make him keep his word. Xiao Yu and Tianming took the opportunity to attack Gong Shucho with words. What should we do? The young and ignorant children could laugh freely, but the others were worried. Their expressions were frozen, and the shadow of worry was hard to get rid of. They looked at Dustless with uncertainty, and their eyes flickered as if they were calculating their chances of winning. The power of mechanical beasts is incomparable to human strength, especially the tyrannical mechanical techniques of the Gongshu family. They are incomparably valiant, and their attacks are as ferocious as a tiger's. It's time for us to retreat. While Dustless and Gong Shucho were confronting each other, Old Man Ban moved closer to Gunia, Master Fan, and the others. I hope that Dustless can delay them for a while and buy me some time to prepare the mechanical birds. How long will it take? Gunia's eyes shone brightly as he unsheathed the abyssal rainbow sword. He said resolutely, "Thank you for taking care of me and my family. I can't thank you enough. Now it's time for me to contribute." Kakaka. A loud rumbling sound was suddenly heard as a tyrannical and intense energy fluctuation erupted without any warning. Even a few hundred feet away, one could feel this slight tremor. Brother Dustless. Gong Shucho, this old bastard, is so shameless. Not only did he go back on his word, but he even used a mechanical snake to attack Brother Dustless. What a hateful old man. Yu heir pouted as she complained indignantly, feeling indignant for Dustless. At the same time, her worried voice made everyone's heart skip a beat, and they couldn't help but feel a wave of despair. Dustless was currently the most capable of fighting among them. If anything happened, everyone would die with him. Fortunately, everyone's worries were unnecessary. This brat. Is he really human? Don't tell me he's a mechanical beast created by the Mo family. Gong Shucho's face darkened. His coarse old face looked as if it had been struck by lightning. It wasn't just Gong Shucho. Even Bai Feng, who was beside him, wasn't any better. Her face was filled with shock and horror. Dustless had blocked the mechanical snake's powerful attack with only one hand. Old man, do you know that everything in this world has a common weakness? Dustless's handsome face curved slightly as he increased the strength of his hand. In the face of absolute strength, even a flawless masterpiece will be full of flaws. What did you say? Hearing this, Gong Shuchao's old face turned ashen as he angrily rebuked. Are you saying that this old man's mechanical beast is full of flaws? It can be destroyed with a wave of my hand. You blabbermouth brat, watch me tear that hateful mouth of yours apart. Ka ka ka. Gong Shuchou pulled the lever again, and then the snake's closed mouth suddenly opened, revealing rows of fangs completely cast in bronze. The ignorant have no fear. Seeing this, Dustless coldly snorted as he pulled out his sword. The Heaven Cluster Cloud sword's edge swept out at the first moment. Puchi. With a crisp sound, the process was as easy as cutting vegetables. The mechanical snake's terrifying mouth was cut off by Dustless's blade. The rows of fangs couldn't withstand a single blow as they were all swept away by Dustless's blade. The sharp fangs were all broken. Oh no! Gong Shuchou was shocked. Seeing Dustless's cold eyes, his whole body shivered as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Chapter 1800. Gulp. Gong Shuchou was not the only one panicking. Even Bai Feng, who was beside him, tried her best to remain calm and rational. Her face still looked calm, but in fact, she was drenched in cold sweat. This guy's eyes. What kind of experience did he have to train such a terrifying gaze? It's as if he came from hell and can see through people's hearts. Bai Feng exclaimed in his heart. Not to mention a mere Gong Shuchou, even he felt his scalp go numb from that gaze that was as cold as a knife, his heart palpitating with fear. Damn it, we've kicked an iron plate this time. Gong Shuchou cursed in his heart. He had thought that this task would be easy, but it had suddenly become a fatal problem. Even he and Bai Feng had fallen into a trap. Attack! Gong Shuchou and Bai Feng looked at each other. They could see the killing intent in each other's eyes. Ka ka ka. Gong Shuchou pulled the lever that controlled the snake again, and its huge body swayed again. Ao 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 ao. A faint hiss came from the snake's throat. It was cold and violent, and then its huge body shrank together, accumulating strength. Boom boom boom. After a moment of silence, the snake's entire body finally swooped down like a cannonball. Bang bang bang. Its body was full of explosive power, and all of it slammed into Dustless's fist. According to common sense, the obstacles in front of it should have been crushed in an instant. However, this was only common sense. Hey, Gong Shuchou, this stinky snake of yours, is that all you have? It's like a mosquito. It can't even withstand a single blow. Gong Shuchou, your eloquence is the best in the world, but your skill in the art of mechanisms is really unflattering. Dustless mocked Gong Shuchou without restraint. Don't go too far. Gong Shuchou roared in a hoarse voice. He wanted to cry. As the favorite person of Ingzheng, anyone who met him would treat him with respect. At the very least, they would call him Mr. Gongshu. Now, Dustless was cursing him like a clown, especially in front of his old rival, Old Man Ban. How could he tolerate it? Boom boom boom. When he focused his gaze, he saw the huge body of the mechanical snake move once more. It suddenly swung its tail, and its huge body crashed into Dustless. Unfortunately, the man only raised his palm casually and blocked the mechanical snake's attack effortlessly. That fair palm blocked all of the snake's attacks. How is this possible? How can a human block the attack of a mechanical snake? Master Ban's heart was also in turmoil. The mechanical skill was created to save manpower. If all human beings were as shocking as Dustless, what was the use of the mechanical skill? Everything had lost its meaning of existence. Is there a problem with Gong Shuchou's mechanical snake? Duan Murong also felt that it was a fantasy. She asked, Dustless's strength is unreliable. He's more than strong to the point of being unreliable. Gunnia's eyes narrowed slightly. His shrewd eyes shone brightly as he stared fixedly at Dustless. He said, perhaps some of the legends are true. Damn it. Gunnia and the others heaved sighs of relief, but Gong Shuchou's old face turned green. Boom boom boom. The mechanical snake continued to attack Dustless with all its strength. Its huge snake head continuously slammed into his body, But no matter how violent its strength was, all of its attacks were neutralized by Dustless's seemingly ordinary palm. Not only that, the mechanical snake's body started to emit black smoke. It seemed to have reached its limit. Ka. As time passed, Dustless was completely fine. However, the mechanical snake was the first to break down. Some of its parts started to fall apart, and huge cracks appeared on its body. Its huge body also showed signs of dissipating. Let's retreat. After a while, seeing that Gong Shu Qiu was also helpless, Bai Feng had no choice but to retreat. No, if we flee in such a sorry state, where will the Gong Shu clan put its face? Gong Shu Qiu shook his head stubbornly. A cunning smile flashed across his old face as he said viciously, "Young hero Bai Feng, you're too worried. Although Dustless is strong, he's still just one person. It's a fool's dream to think that he can protect everyone. If we target someone else, for example." As soon as he finished speaking, Gong Shu Qiu's vicious gaze landed on you. Without a doubt, your strength was the weakest in this group. Ka. He decisively pulled the lever, and the mechanical snake's body, which was already on the verge of collapse, suddenly looked at you. "Old thing, you're courting death." Seeing this, Dustless's expression turned cold. Surging killing intent burst out of his body. His calm eyes suddenly turned red, and a deadly pressure filled the air. Gulp. Gong Shu Qiu's eyelids twitched as he looked at the ferocious Dustless. He suddenly felt a little regretful. He seemed to have completely angered a tiger. Wang. The sharpness of the heavenly sword of clouds expanded by dozens of times. Waves of clear cries resounded throughout the world. Swoosh. Glancing at the mechanical snake's huge body, Dustless waved his hand, and the heavenly sword of clouds continued to slash out. Boom. The huge slash instantly hit the mechanical snake's bloated body. Although this thing's power was amazing, its huge disadvantage was also revealed at this moment. Ka. Due to its huge body, almost all the power of the slash was absorbed. The mighty mechanical snake instantly turned into a bug that was not worth mentioning. It was dismembered by Dustless and turned into a pile of broken parts. This absolute power blinded everyone's eyes. Just like what Dustless said before, even a flawless masterpiece was full of flaws. Chapter 1801. The mechanical snakes have been destroyed? The people from the Mo family and the Xiang family from the Chu Empire opened their mouths wide as they stared at the broken mechanical snakes. The sharp divine light left an unforgettable impression on them. "That's a mechanical beast made of bronze, not wood." Master Ban yelled at the top of his lungs. His voice was sharp and piercing. Bronze and wood were two completely different things. "Hurry up and chase after them." Although Gunye was astonished, his cold eyes immediately caught sight of the fleeing Gong Shu Qiu and Bai Feng. He immediately chased after them. "Why are you still standing there like a fool?" Duanmu Rong urged when she saw Dustless standing there motionlessly. "Those two fellows must be eliminated. They will be a disaster if they continue to live." Hearing this, Wu Chen just smiled faintly. He casually picked up a blade of grass and held it in his mouth. He said in a bored tone, "Isn't it better to continue living? This way, they will regret living in this world." Translator, Atlas Studios editor. Atlas Studios. At the peak of a mountain, there were endless mountains that stretched for thousands of miles. It was impossible for human eyes to see the end of it. The mechanical city of the Mo family was hidden in these mountains. However, no one knew where exactly it was. At this moment, there were a few uninvited guests at the top of the mountain. Without exception, all of them were women. Moreover, they were all extremely beautiful. Judging from their attire, they all belonged to the school of Yinyang. Young Master Ming, Great Master Ming, the current guardian of the school of Yinyang, and the imperial advisor of the Great Qin Empire, the Moon God, were all gathered at the top of the mountain. "Lord Moon God." Great Master Ming bowed slightly to show his respect. The Moon God's status and strength were higher than his in both the school of Yinyang and the Great Qin Empire. Young Master Ming did not speak. Her eyes were calm and indifferent. According to the information from Lu Sha, the traders of the Mo family are hiding in these mountains, Moon God looked down. Even though her eyes were covered by a veil, her vision was still clear. Her vision was even sharper than young Si Ming and Great Si Ming's. Not bad. Great Si Ming nodded as he stared at the mountains and rivers that were surrounded by mountains. He could not help but nod and praise. To be able to develop such an amazing mechanical city in such a difficult environment, the founder of the school of Mo must be an extraordinary person. Of course. The Moon Goddess said lightly, the founder of the school of Mo, MZ, was a peerless genius. Unfortunately, he was too pedantic. In this chaotic world, he actually advocated love with impartiality and non-aggression. Their thinking is too childish. It is human nature to be greedy, and it is human nature to strive for the top. This time, the Mo clan has chosen the wrong enemy, and they are destined to step into a dead end. The Moon Goddess is right. All enemies of the school of Yin Yang will only have one ending, death. Great Si Ming sneered. Although the school of Moism was powerful, it was nothing compared to the school of Yin Yang. In fact, there was no one among the 100 schools of thought that could compete with the school of Yin Yang. 500 years ago, the school of Yin Yang broke away from Taoism and formed its own school, known as the school of Yin Yang. Over the past 500 years, countless geniuses had appeared and created many powerful moves. This was also the foundation for the school of Yin Yang's dominance among the 100 schools of thought. However, Great Si Ming lowered his voice and said with a frown, an unknown variable has appeared. A few generals of the quicksand have been defeated by that guy. An unknown variable? The Moon Goddess was unmoved. She asked calmly, Sword Synchronia? If it is him, only Wei Zhuang can compete with him in the quicksand. No, it is not him. It is an unknown variable that we have never heard of before, Dustless. When the Moon Goddess and young Si Ming heard this, they were surprised. They lowered their heads and pondered for a while, but they could not recall any information about this person. Who is this person? He does not seem to be a famous person. The Moon Goddess's face, which had remained cold for thousands of years, finally softened a little. She said, before I left, His Excellency Dong Huang told me that I would definitely gain something from this trip to the mechanical city of the Mo clan. However, I have never heard him mention this unfamiliar name. Perhaps he is just an insignificant person. There is no need to worry. Just follow the plan. After frowning for a few seconds, the Moon Goddess was relieved. The confusion on her face was gone. In this world, there were many powerful people who were unknown. Why were there powerful people who were unknown? The fundamental reason was that some people were killed before they could rise to prominence and make a name for themselves. Is that really the case? Great Si Ming did not say anything. It was rare for him to doubt the Moon Goddess' guess. Since he could defeat Qi Lian with overwhelming strength, even if he was not as powerful as Wei Zhuang, he should be close. How could such an expert be overlooked? Swoosh, 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 swoosh. A deafening sound pierced through the air. Is this the mechanical beast of the Mo clan? The Moon Goddess and the other two looked up at the sky. The mechanical bird in the sky was too conspicuous. It was huge and there was no way to hide. At the same time, the few figures riding on the mechanical bird noticed the Moon Goddess and the others. The people from the school of Yin Yang. I remember that their mission was to help Wei Zhuang attack the mechanical city of the Mo clan. They were also in charge of killing the annoying Yen Dan and kidnapping you. TSK, what a pity. Looking down at Moon Deity and the others, Dustless's mouth revealed a meaningful smile. Chapter 1802. Hateful Gaze, Hateful Man. Suddenly Moon Goddess, young Master Ming, and Great Si Ming saw the strange man's mocking gaze in the sky and frowned at the same time. I think I've seen that annoying man somewhere before. Great Si Ming raised his eyebrows and snorted. If it weren't for the distance, he wouldn't mind teaching Dustless a lesson. How dare you stare at me with such a ferocious gaze? These women are indeed not easy to deal with. Dustless's lips curled into a wicked smile. Just as he was thinking about how to take revenge on Great Si Ming, An idea flashed through his mind and he came up with a good plan. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Wu Chen squinted his eyes and looked back. Duanmu Rong, Snow Lady, and the others were chatting and laughing. They seemed to have forgotten about him for a moment. Hee. With a strange smile on his face, Dustless walked to a hidden spot on the mechanical bird and took off his pants after making sure that no one was looking at him. What is that guy trying to do? Great Sea Ming frowned. She wasn't the only one who saw Dustless's strange actions. Dustless's strange actions were seen clearly by Moon Goddess and young Master Ming. I have a bad feeling about this. Moon Goddess's expression changed slightly when she saw Dustless taking off his pants. She had an indescribable bad feeling in her heart. Young Master Ming didn't say anything but nodded her head lightly. Dustless's actions were too strange. What was he trying to do by taking off his pants in broad daylight? Out of curiosity, the three of them stared at Dustless. As they were about to reach the Mo family's mechanical city, the mechanical bird didn't fly very fast. It was dozens of meters or even hundreds of meters away. Ordinary people couldn't see it clearly. However, Moon Goddess, Great Sea Ming, and young Master Ming were all cultivators. They could see Dustless's actions clearly. However, it would have been better if they didn't see it. The moment they saw it, they immediately regretted it. Bastard, bastard, bastard. He must have done it on purpose. He must have done it on purpose. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to tear him into pieces. After a while, Great Sea Ming roared furiously. His cold face was flushed red as he turned his head around awkwardly. This strange scene didn't just happen to Great Sea Ming. Moon Goddess and young Master Ming didn't turn their backs on Dustless. This bastard actually dared to do such a disgusting thing in front of the three of us. He better not be caught by me, or else I will make him suffer a fate worse than death. Great Sea Ming gritted her teeth and cursed. She sneakily glanced at Moon God and young Sea Ming. Just like her, they were both shocked and angry. Their faces were red. Young Master. Dustless young Master Ming. Wu Chen curled his lips and immediately pulled up his pants again. He groaned in dissatisfaction. It's obvious that you've seen me naked. What's there to be dissatisfied about? I should be the one feeling wronged. Seeing the three of them turn their backs on him, Dustless grumbled. He didn't feel that he had gone overboard. He deserved it. In Dustless's words, "Did I ask you to stare at me? You got caught in a trap of your own making. That despicable brat." After a while, sensing that the mechanical bird had completely disappeared, Moon Goddess and the other two turned around with gloomy expressions. Moon Goddess's expression was the worst. She wished she could dig out her own eyes. Through her eyes, Moon Goddess felt that her entire body had been humiliated by Dustless. Don't worry, Moon Goddess. Young Master Ming and I promise that we will kill him quietly. No one will know about this. Seeing that Moon Goddess was trembling with anger, Great Sea Ming said with a murderous tone. That's right. Xiao Si Ming, who was infuriated by Wu Chen, made a rare sound. Deep in her eyes, there was a mixture of shame and anger. The three of them were disgusted by Wu Chen. Catch that brat, but don't kill him easily. Remember to bring him to me. I will let him know the price of doing this. How dare he do this in front of me? At this point, Moon Goddess's face twitched. She swallowed back the words that she was about to say. All right, I finally remember who that fella is. Suddenly, a light flashed across Decima's mind. He quickly took out a scroll painting and opened it. The person in the painting was a handsome man. That damned fella is Dustless. Great Sea Ming stared at the scroll painting with his beautiful eyes. In the end, he smashed it in anger. The murderous aura around him spread out like a tidal wave. Unknowingly, he was actually tricked by Dustless. Preposterous. Before they even met, he had already suffered such a huge loss. Great Sea Ming felt uncomfortable all over. He had never suffered such a loss before. That's him? Moon Goddess and young Master Ming were slightly surprised. The painting was described by Qi Lian and drawn by someone else. It was Dustless's portrait. He's ridiculously young. Moon Goddess's calm eyes were filled with faint ripples. Her words were filled with admiration. He defeated Qi Lian at such a young age. Such shocking talent is comparable to Xing Hun. However, Moon Goddess's face suddenly turned cold. She said coldly, "In this world, the ones who die the quickest are those arrogant geniuses. That fella is heading towards the Mo family's mechanical city. I heard that the Mo family's magnate has returned. There's a path for you to take, but this fella has to barge in. I'll kill him along with him." Red light surged behind Great Sea Ming's back. He had already sentenced Dustless to death in his heart. Dustless was unaware of all this. As the culprit, he had already taken a mechanical bird and rushed towards the Mo family's mechanical city. Chapter 1803. If Dustless knew that the three giants of the school of Yin-Yang hated him to the core and wanted to get rid of him, he would have cried, but no tears would come out. This was too inexplicable. It was obviously just a pool of urine, and the one who was at a disadvantage was Dustless. Mo clan's mechanical city. If it weren't for Duanmu Rong and the other disciples of the Mo clan leading the way, it would have been difficult to find the hidden mechanical city. There were so many mountains that just looking at them would make one's head spin. The Mo clan's ancestral master is really amazing. Inside the mechanical city, Dustless exclaimed. Even though he had seen a lot, he was still shocked by the Mo clan's profound mechanical arts, and his mind was a little numb. Of course. What you see is only the tip of the iceberg, Duanmu Rong said with a smile. Duanmu Rong, who was usually reserved in speech and manner, revealed a faint smile. She proudly explained, "Such a huge project took more than 300 years. The internal complexity is far beyond the imagination of the world." That's right. This is the only anti-Qin paradise in the world. Ing Zheng's laws and Great Qin's cavalry can't control it, Old Ban said proudly. Anti-Qin paradise? That's an incredible title. Hearing this, Dustless smiled but didn't say anything. As the saying went, flies wouldn't bite a seamless egg. Perhaps it was because the Mo clan was too high profile that Ing Zheng had made a move on them. The most ironic thing was that Wei Zhuang only took a single day to conquer the Mo clan's mechanical city that had been built for 300 years. Was the Mo clan too stupid, or was Wei Zhuang too cunning? This question could only be answered by future generations. Swish, swish, swish. At that moment, a few afterimages suddenly appeared in the air, and a blurry silhouette rushed over, almost instantly rushing into the crowd. This guy, his Qinggong is not bad. It's not inferior to Bai Feng's at all. Dustless frowned slightly and clenched his fists. He was surprised to find that this unfriendly figure was actually coming for him. I don't think I have offended anyone in the Mo family. No, I haven't even seen them before. Puzzled, Dustless clenched his fist. Just as he was about to strike back, Duanmu Rong stood in front of him like a shield. This woman knows how to repay kindness. She's quite likable. Dustless smiled, and his impression of Duanmu Rong increased slightly. At the same time, the figure that was approaching Dustless also stopped immediately. This person's appearance could be considered handsome with delicate features. The only thing that was not flattering was that at first glance, he gave off the impression that he was the sloppy type. His cheeky smile made him look very slick. No wonder he was hostile towards me. So it was him. Dustless was relieved. In the original novel, Gunia had been too close to Duanmu Rong, which had led to the enmity of this guy. This guy had always been secretly in love with Duanmu Rong. However, the sad thing was that Prince Xiang had a dream, but the goddess had no heart. This fellow only had a one-sided love. Commander Daoji, what do you mean by this? Are you planning to attack my friend from the Mo family? Duanmu Rong asked coldly, as if she had seen a jinx. Miss Duanmu, This scene caused Daoji to be speechless. Wasn't this change too quick? Earlier, he was talking and laughing with Dustless, but now, it was his turn to have an icy mountain face and a look of disdain. Daoji was extremely depressed in his heart. Miss Duanmu, you've misunderstood. I'm just afraid that this fellow will harm you. Daoji smiled apologetically. At the same time, he stole a glance at Dustless. Jealousy welled up in his heart. Other than being slightly more handsome than me, there doesn't seem to be anything special about him. Recently, Ying Zheng's lackeys have been appearing near Mechanical City. Although the Mechanical City of the Mo family is known to be impenetrable and difficult to break through, there's no harm in being careful. Everyone has to be carefully checked. Daoji put on a stern and impartial expression. Hearing this, Duanmu Rong glanced at Daoji indifferently. Her red lips moved slightly as she said, "Do you know that if I hadn't stopped you just now, you might have? Are you trying to say that if you hadn't stopped me just now, this fellow would have been thrown into jail and injured innocent people?" Daoji crossed his arms and did not give Duanmu Rong a chance to speak. He continued valiantly, "Miss Rong, don't worry. Although I'm a notorious thief, I won't bully the weak." "You've misunderstood me." Duanmu Rong glanced at Daoji with a conflicted expression. She said mercilessly, "If I hadn't stopped you, you might have been carried back for emergency treatment." "Do you think that I can't defeat him?" Daoji was shocked by this nonsensical answer. He looked at Dustless suspiciously. He did not think that he could not defeat this pretty boy. "Nice to meet you. I'm Dustless. Please take care of me in the future." Dustless greeted Daoji with a friendly fist salute. Knowing Daoji's character, he did not want to waste time with him. "Dustless." Daoji pondered for a moment. He lowered his head and muttered, "I seem to have heard this name before. This isn't the first time we've met, right?" "You're mistaken." Dustless shook his head and said, "You might have remembered wrongly. This is the first time we've met. This is also the first time I've come to the Mechanical City of the Mo family. Friend, perhaps you are unfamiliar with our Mo family, but our Mo family is rather familiar with you." At this moment, a black figure walked out from the depths of the corridor. He was wearing a windbreaker and a bamboo hat. There was a shocking scar on his face. "It's him?" Dustless's pupils shrank. He found this person familiar. Chapter 1804. This man was in his 30s or 40s. His eyes were as deep as the abyss. They were bright and deep enough to see through a human's thoughts. Especially the scar on his face, Dustless could only think of one person, Crown Prince Yen Dan. This guy was the current Mo family's great son. "You know me well?" Dustless stared at Yen Dan and asked, "Have we met before?" "Strange, I'm sure I don't know you." Yen Dan smiled and said, "We have never met before. This is the first time we've met. But I'm afraid your name has spread all over the world." Mo family's great son Yen Dan took out a scroll painting from his chest and opened it. Immediately, a face that looked like Dustless's was revealed. "This is..." Dustless opened his eyes wide and said in surprise, "Is this my wanted poster?" Mo family's great son Yen Dan nodded and said with admiration, "You have become a wanted criminal of the empire. Your head is worth 200,000 taels of gold. If you provide the most basic information, you can get 500 taels of gold. This is the first time we've seen such a ridiculous reward. Looks like Ying Zheng really misses my head." Dustless didn't care. There were too many people who wanted his life, but the ones who ended up lying on the ground and turning into skeletons were those so-called enemies. How long has it been? Dustless's wanted poster has spread all over the world. Duanmu Rong stared at the wanted poster for a while and said, "Is it because you defeated Wei Zhuang's subordinates and Gong Shuqiu? It's not important. I'll deal with whatever comes my way. What will happen in the future is a matter of the future. Now, I'll just endure it one day at a time." Dustless shrugged and didn't care at all. "You're wanted, but you can still be so calm. Mr. State of Mind is not something we can see through." Mo family's great son Yen Dan said in surprise. If it was someone else who was wanted, he would have been scared out of his wits. But Dustless's state of mind was as calm as a mountain. He admired him. "You're too humble. Compared to you, I'm not worth mentioning," Dustless said calmly. He didn't have a good impression of this ambitious great son. Yen Dan, the head of the Mo family, was observant, so he naturally noticed Dustless's indifference. He awkwardly cupped his hands and then asked Old Man Ban and the others about Bai Feng and Gong Shuqiu. This old fellow, out of the corner of Wu Chen's eyes, he had been focusing on Yen Dan. When he heard Yen Dan murmuring the word chivalrous, he couldn't help but take a few steps away from him. He didn't stop until he couldn't hear his voice. The Mo family was the vanguard of the anti-Qin forces. Among them, Yen Dan, the great son of the Mo family, was even more persistent. He had been recruiting powerful warriors from all over the world who dared to resist the Qin state. Take Gunye, for example. Originally, the Mo family had a grudge against Gunye, but because of Yen Dan's stubbornness, the Mo family forcibly accepted Gunye and kept him in the army against the Qin state. I wonder who among you will be the supreme emperor after the Qin dynasty is overthrown. Dustless thought to himself. Even if Ing Zheng was overthrown in the end, who would be the emperor? Would Yen Dan give up the throne to someone else? He might as well put himself in Yen Dan's shoes. Who would give up the throne when it was beckoning to them? Moreover, Yen Dan had a special identity, the crown prince of the Yen kingdom. Although he was now a thing of the past, it was undeniable that once the Qin state was destroyed, with this guy's identity and strength, the throne would be his. What a foul place. It's so good to live under the sun. Why do they have to live like rats underground? Dustless looked at them unhappily. He then walked toward Duanmu Rong, who stood aloof from the world, and asked, Miss Duanmu, although Mechanical City is difficult to break, it's really suffocating to live here. Is there any place where we can get some fresh air? Dustless felt nauseous when he breathed in the stuffy tunnel. I can't tell that you're the spoiled type. Those two kids didn't complain, but you said that first. Duanmu Rong pointed at Tianming and Xiaoyu and rolled her eyes. Then she pulled Dustless to an air vent. I'm sorry to trouble you. Wu Chen expressed his gratitude. The idle fly had disappeared, and the world in his ears had quieted down. Living in the same space as the giant Yen Dan, he felt uncomfortable all over. Even though the world thought that Yen Dan was peerless and unparalleled, and was an out-and-out hero in Wu Chen's eyes, he was always a heartless man. For the sake of the world, he completely ignored the feelings of his wife and daughter. He even abandoned them. Even if he knew that his daughter, Yu Er, was in the Mo family, Yen Dan's choice was indifferent. Even if he had no choice, Dustless still couldn't accept Yen Dan. Phew, much better. Following Duanmu Rong, Dustless came to an unfamiliar open-air scenic spot. It was well ventilated and didn't have the stuffy atmosphere inside Mechanical City. You don't seem to like Master Giant. Duanmu Rong stared at Dustless's face and asked blankly, Do you have a grudge? You saw through it? Of course not. Didn't I tell you before? This is the first time I've met Master Giant. Dustless stared at Duanmu Rong in surprise. Then he nodded and admitted, I don't like Master Giant, but I don't hate him either. All in all, we just have different standpoints. No one is right or wrong. What I'm pursuing may be wrong in his eyes, but what he hopes for is a dream in my eyes. If everyone in the world had the same thoughts as you, then the world would be truly peaceful. Duanmu Rong smiled bitterly. She wanted to tell everyone in Mechanical City that Dustless might harm Master Giant, but for some reason, her body seemed to be petrified and she couldn't move. Chapter 1805. What's going on? Duanmu Rong also noticed her own abnormality. She couldn't help but curse in her heart. Ridiculous. Could it be that I'm thinking the same thing as this brat who is a few years younger than me? Duanmu Rong's cheeks burned as she thought of this. Although this era was more open than the future, and one could completely ignore the prejudice of age, stop flirting here, the two of you. At this moment, an anxious voice came from behind. The Mechanical City has been attacked by the Qin kingdom. It has been invaded. It's better for the two of you to retreat quickly. A nervous voice came from the dark corridor. Dustless was slightly taken aback. He looked over and saw that it was the Snow Lady, who was in a hurry. The Mechanical City has been breached. Hearing this, Duanmu Rong was petrified. Her strange thoughts disappeared as she quickly turned into a black shadow and rushed out. It seemed like she was going to look for the Mo family's commanders. Miss Snow Lady, you're acting strange today. Dustless was surprisingly calm. His pitch-black eyes looked at the person who came and suddenly smiled. Miss Snow Lady, what do you think of the Mo family's Mechanical City? This, Snow Lady was confused. She didn't expect Dustless to suddenly answer this question. After thinking for a while, she replied, although the Mo family's mechanical city is an impenetrable fortress, Yingzheng isn't easy to deal with. He was able to invite the Gongshu family to deal with the Mo family's mechanical city. I don't know if it can withstand the attack in the end. According to Miss Snow Lady, how long do you think the Mo family's mechanical city can last? Dustless asked with a deeper meaning. Snow Lady fell silent. After thinking for a while, she said, I personally think it can last for at least a few days. After all, the Mo family spent 300 years to build this huge project. No, Dustless shook his finger and immediately rejected this ridiculous view. Miss Snow Lady, you're wrong. The Mo family's mechanical city can only last for 10 minutes. 10 minutes? That's impossible. Snow Lady shook her head in disbelief. It's only been 10 minutes. How is that possible? Didn't the Snow Maidens notice? Right at this moment, a gloomy smile suddenly appeared on the corners of Dustless's mouth as he said coldly, It has only been a short 10 minutes since Miss Duanmu and I left. 10 minutes ago, Mechanical City was still safe and sound. 10 minutes later, Miss Snow Lady said that Mechanical City has been breached. Don't you think that's strange? At the same time, Duanmu Rong hurriedly rushed over to join them. However, the scene that entered his eyes caused him to be extremely puzzled. What's going on? Duanmu Rong frowned. She saw Juzi of the school of Mo, Xiao Yaozi of the Taoist school, Zhang Liang of the Confucian school, and Gun Yegai discussing a plan to deal with the Qin kingdom. As for the Snow Lady, she stood beside Gao Jianli. When did the Snow Maidens arrive? I remember that she stayed with Dustless. Duanmu Rong was very confused. She didn't see the Snow Maiden when she returned. Could it be? A light flashed in the depths of Duanmu Rong's eyes. She realized that something was wrong and hurriedly returned. I was too careless. That Snow Lady was impersonated by someone else. Duanmu Rong was very anxious. Although she didn't know who was impersonating the Snow Lady, she was 100% sure that the person impersonating the Snow Lady was an enemy. Nothing must happen. Dustless. Duanmu Rong prayed in her heart. She had agreed to send Dustless to the school of Mo to avoid being hunted down by the great Qin kingdom. Now that Dustless had been plotted against, her heart was filled with guilt. Huff, 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 Duanmu Rong hurriedly ran back the way she came. When she rushed back, she was stunned by the scene that greeted her eyes. She saw a mysterious person of unknown origin lying at Dustless's feet. He was dressed in black, and she couldn't make out his exact appearance. His entire body was eerie and extremely terrifying. Is this the person impersonating the Snow Lady? Duanmu Rong asked in surprise. It's just as you see. Dustless nodded and explained his origins. He's called the Black Qilin. He's one of Wei Zhuang's subordinates. This person is very strange and extraordinary. He has no shape or form, but he can impersonate all living beings. He's proficient in disguise techniques. He can imitate a person's voice and even their moves. Almost no one can detect him. He's currently a mysterious assassin of the Reverse Quicksand Assassin Group. There's such a person in this world? Duanmu Rong asked in disbelief. Doesn't that mean that this person can impersonate anyone, and it's extremely difficult to identify him? That's not the case. Since it's just a disguise, it means that it's just a disguise technique. It's just that the Black Qilin is one of the best. In the end, even if his disguise is flawless, a disguise is still a disguise. Dustless replied calmly. From the first time I saw him, I already guessed that this person was impersonating the Snow Lady. At such a critical juncture, if the mechanical city is really going to be breached, they could have just sent an ordinary Mahist disciple. This person impersonated the Snow Lady, but in reality he was just trying to outsmart himself. Everyone's aura is different from the rest. The Snow Lady's unique life experiences have created a unique her. This person actually wanted to impersonate her. Indeed, the ignorant are fearless. Duanmu Rong rolled her eyes when she heard Dustless's analysis. She treated Dustless's words as a joke. It wasn't that the Black Qilin's disguise wasn't up to standard. It was just that Dustless's senses were too sharp. At the very least, Duanmu Rong herself had been fooled. Chapter 1806. No matter what, I didn't discover this black Qilin, and neither did the rest of the Mo family. This means that this guy's concealment skills are commendable. Duanmu Rong and Dustless had different opinions. Since this guy could deceive the Mo family, it was enough to prove that his ability was commendable. Now that Dustless had seen through him, it was not because the black Qilin was useless, but because this guy chose the wrong target. Wasn't he courting death by choosing a non-human as his enemy? Actually, Dustless smiled as he gloated. This guy called Black Qilin is very important to Wei Zhuang. If possible, we can use him to take revenge on Wei Zhuang. Take advantage. Hearing this unfamiliar term, Duanmu Rong hesitated for a moment and said, "You mean to use this guy as bait to lure Wei Zhuang? Although you are an ancient person, your understanding is quite fast." Dustless nodded and smiled. This guy is very important to Wei Zhuang. We can't lose him. The Black Qilin's assassination mission has almost never failed. I will report to Master Juzi. Duanmu Rong's eyes lit up. She felt that this plan was feasible and reported it to Yen Dan. Thank you. Dustless nodded and watched Duanmu Rong leave. After seeing her beautiful figure disappear, Dustless followed after her decisively. No, we can't do that. Hearing Wu Chen's plan, Yen Dan, the great son of the Mo family, rejected it without even thinking. He said loudly, "The Mo family is a famous sect in the world. How can we use such a petty trick? Although Wei Zhuang is shameless, we must learn from him. Otherwise, the teachings of the Mo family over hundreds of years will be destroyed." Not only did Yen Dan reject Dustless's plan, he even criticized it as a despicable plan. All is fair in war. This plan is the best choice. Your sect's teachings seem to be too stubborn. Master Fan of the Xiang family immediately expressed a different opinion. The mechanical city of the Mo family was surrounded by enemies and could be conquered by the Great Qin Empire's iron armor army at any time. What was there to talk about despicable? This was too much of a joke. Moreover, you can be open and aboveboard with the enemy and pay attention to the gentleman's agreement. However, the enemy just loves to play tricks and continue to be stubborn. Sooner or later, you will be digging your own grave. Master Fan. Xiao Yu tugged at Master Fan's sleeve and whispered, "No matter what, it's not appropriate for us to say such things with our current status. Master Fan, please be careful with your words." Young Master's words are reasonable. I was careless. Master Fan nodded. Thinking of their current awkward status, the Xiang clan was just a stray dog. They had no right to talk about the Mo clan. At the end of the day, they still had to rely on the Mo clan. This is a matter of principle. Yen Dan shook his head and said, "I appreciate Mr. Dustless's kindness." However, for hundreds of years, the Mo family has always pursued an open and honorable policy. Generations of Yen Dan's sons have been heroes. If you want me to use such a despicable method, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. Yen Dan's expression was stubborn and inflexible, as if he had no intention of hiding anything. I also object. A gentle and elegant voice came quietly. Then, a handsome young man with a strong scholarly aura entered Dustless's eyes. It's him? Dustless raised his eyebrows. This person gave Dustless an impression of déjà vu, Zhang Liang of the Confucian school? Seeing this, Dustless lowered his head and fell silent. The relationship between Zhang Liang, Zhang Zifang, and Wei Zhuang might not be known by others, but Dustless knew it like the back of his hand. These two were in cahoots and were even close friends despite the difference in age. I'll pass on the message. As for the specifics, it's entirely up to you. After all, I'm just an outsider. The Mo clan will decide what to do. Dustless was too lazy to poke his nose into other people's business. After all, his goal was the phantasmal sound treasure box. Nothing else mattered. After thinking for a while, Yen Dan finally decided, lock up that Black Qilin for the time being. This guy still has that kind of ridiculous idea until now. Wu Chen suddenly understood Yan Dan's idea with a contemptuous smile between his eyebrows. This guy is planning to be like Gunia and instigate Wei Zhuang to join the anti-Qin camp, right? Dustless sneered in his heart. Although Wei Zhuang did end up in cahoots with the Mo clan in the end, this Yan Dan in front of him could not see the future clearly. If there's a surprise, it's him. He raised his eyelids slightly and cast a strange gaze over. The person who entered his eyes was Zhang Liang, Zhang Zifang of the Confucian school. It was worth mentioning that this fellow was also faintly examining Wu Chen from the corner of his eyes. His eyes occasionally revealed a hint of shrewdness. He's dustless. Zhang Liang lowered his eyes. He did not have the ability to foresee the future like dustless. He had to think carefully before acting. Moreover, Zhang Liang could not help but be wary of dustless, who was a mysterious and uncertain factor. But, suddenly, he thought of a big problem that he could not let go of. Zhang Liang was worried and said to himself, the Mo clan has completely offended Liu Sha. Can the two sides really work together? Zhang Liang was annoyed and depressed. In the past, there was no enmity between the two sides. The Mo clan was hostile to Wei Zhuang because they thought that the Mo clan's great son had been killed by him. Now that Yan Dan was still alive, the groundless enmity would naturally be resolved. However, Dustless had offended Wei Zhuang. Could the two sides really resolve the enmity? Zhang Liang's answer to this was only a floating question mark. Chapter 1807. Missing? Are you joking with me? Hidden Bat. Outside the mechanical city of the Mo family, Wei Zhuang's face was gloomy. If so, you'd better take back this stupid joke. You know, I don't like to joke. Wei Zhuang's tone was obviously angry. I don't dare to joke with Lord Wei Zhuang, but Linra's missing. Hidden Bat was so scared that he knelt down on one knee. Others in the Jianghu were terrified of him, but in front of Wei Zhuang, he was terrified. He's missing? Wei Zhuang's voice was low. Even if he heard it 100 times, even 1,000 times, he wouldn't believe it. This subordinate is absolutely not lying. Hearing this, Hidden Bat quickly nodded to show his loyalty. Humph, you don't dare to fool me. You should know the consequences. Wei Zhuang snorted and asked irritably, what's the reason? Don't tell me that you didn't do anything when you sneaked into the Mo family and lost your companion. Gulp. Hidden Bat was sweating profusely. He was sure that if he didn't give Wei Zhuang a satisfactory answer, this guy would be angry and cut him with his sword. Ling, Black Qilin, is fine for now. He's just locked up by the Mo family. Hidden Bat quickly replied, that guy was accidentally caught when he attacked Dustless. This Dustless again. Wei Zhuang's face instantly turned ugly, and his old face was burning. First, he defeated Qi Lian, followed by the Ash Wolf King. After that, it was Bai Feng and Gong Shuqiu. If Gong Shuqiu had not come to her rescue in time, Bai Feng might have fallen into the toilet, and her reputation would have been destroyed. After that, it was the Black Qilin who had never failed. This guy was even more miserable as he was caught alive by Dustless. Damn guy, I'd like to see who this Dustless is. Wei Zhuang's face turned cold as he said angrily, go and call Gong Shuqiu here. Tell him to attack the mechanical city of the Mo family immediately. Understood. Hidden Bat nodded in fear. When he was about to leave, he suddenly stopped and asked in a low voice, Lord Wei Zhuang, when I was evacuating the mechanical city, I met people from the Yinyang school. School of Yinyang. Wei Zhuang's eyes suddenly narrowed, and he couldn't help but be interested. He asked, who is it? 3 women, one is the great arbiter of Yin Yang, another is the young arbiter of fate, and the last one is the current magician of the empire, the moon goddess. The Hidden Bat was also familiar with the 3 of them as they were all famous figures. Hearing this, Wei Zhuang's expression changed slightly. These 3 people were all unfathomable and extremely powerful, especially the legendary moon goddess. Even Wei Zhuang was wary of her. Ignore them for now. Of course, there's no need to be afraid of them either. 10 hours later. Mechanical City has been invaded. The reception hall was filled with guests. The Mahist school's Juzi, the Taoist school's Unfettered One, the Confucian school's Zhang Liang, the Xiang clan's Sword Saint Gunia, and other experts were all discussing the upcoming battle. Of course, Dustless was also among them. Originally, Dustless did not want to participate in such a boring meeting. However, some people, such as the Mahist school's Juzi and the Confucian school's Zhang Liang, were not willing to let Dustless participate. They could not ignore or even ignore an expert who was not weaker than Gunia. I should have thought of this long ago, the Mahist school's Juzi sighed and said, now that the Black Qilin is invading, there must be other companions following him. The Mahist school's mechanical city is in danger. The Mahist school's Juzi waved his hand and said decisively, retreat to the core area of the mechanical city for now and use the mechanical arts to fight against the enemy. Retreat? Dustless did not care when he heard this. He whispered, how can we retreat when the phantasmal sound treasure box has not been sold yet? I'll use my invisible doppelganger to deal with these guys. Dustless came to this world for two reasons. One was the Yellowstone Heavenly Book, and the other was the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon. The phantasmal sound treasure box was closely related to the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon. Naturally, he would not let it go so easily. Hurry up. If I'm not wrong, the one who helped the Qin army this time is Gong Shuqiu. Everyone, retreat to the core area of the Mahist school's mechanical city as soon as possible and use the mechanical arts to deal with them. The Mahist school's Juzi Yen Dan ordered. Dustless left quietly, leaving only an invisible doppelganger behind. He walked towards a dark tunnel on the left. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Dustless sped up. Just as he was about to disappear into the dark tunnel and reach another place, an uninvited guest suddenly appeared in front of him. Someone from the school of Inyang? Dustless stopped and stared at the beautiful woman. He suddenly realized that she looked very familiar. Kid, we are really fated to meet again. The person who spoke was one of the 2 guardians of the school of Inyang. She was also the imperial advisor of the Great Qin Empire, Moon Goddess. Are you here to catch you air? Dustless frowned and said coldly, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you now. Get out of my way. Young people are really hot-tempered. Moon Goddess smiled slowly and said coldly, His Excellency Dong Huang once said that he would definitely gain something from the Mahist school's mechanical city. Other than that little girl, I think you are also the fruit of victory. I'm suddenly interested in you, even more than the little girl that His Excellency Dong Huang told me about. Moon Goddess's eyes rippled faintly as her eyes shone. Chapter 1808. You're interested in me? Hearing this, Wu Chen blinked his eyes and revealed a stunned expression. He pretended to be surprised and said, Really? I am truly honored to receive the Moon Goddess's affection. However, may I ask why the Moon Goddess is so interested in me? This guy. Why is he asking for a beating? The Moon Deity frowned slightly. Although Wu Chen kept calling her Lord Moon Deity, his teasing tone made the Moon Deity uncomfortable and uncomfortable. You have no background or identity. You appeared out of nowhere and defeated Wei Zhuang's quicksand at such a young age. It's inevitable that I'm curious about you. The Moon Goddess answered quietly. Is that so? Wu Chen nodded as if he understood. Then he squinted his eyes and asked, Speaking of which, did that Dong Huang Tai predict anything else before you came? Anything else? Not really. The Moon Goddess raised her eyebrows and replied coldly, The great way of yin and yang, Wuji Tai. Your Excellency Dong Huang's level is not something I can understand. Don't even mention calling Your Excellency Dong Huang's name. It's disrespectful. Disrespectful? How sad. Looks like that Dong Huang Tai is just an ordinary person. I heard that he can predict the future through the movements of the celestial bodies, which is astrology. Then, did he predict the worst thing? The worst thing? Moon God blinked, which was rare. She asked, What do you want to say? Or were all the useless words before your last words? Meeting me is the worst thing. Didn't Dong Huang Tai tell you? You're out of luck this time. Wu Chen asked jokingly. At the same time, his body disappeared in an instant. The speed? So fast. Noticing that Wu Qin had suddenly disappeared without a trace, the moon deity's expressionless face revealed a rare emotional panic. She tensed up and looked left and right, looking for Wu Chen's trace. "You're too slow." A scornful voice suddenly sounded. The moon goddess was shocked. She suddenly realized that her right shoulder was grabbed by a soft hand. Boom, boom, boom. In the blink of an eye, a tyrannical ripple of energy broke out from his body. Because they were too close, all of it blasted onto Dustless. Kakaka. Under the concentrated attacks, Dustless's body began to undergo a horrifying change. These high-density energy ripples were like materialized fists. Without exception, they all bombarded Dustless's body. His chest began to cave in, and his layers were uneven. "How dare you approach me so rashly? How can you not die?" Moon God's voice was calm. She sounded as if victory was within her grasp. She had used all of her power, and she was certain that all of her attacks had landed on Dustless. His flexible internal organs, as well as his limbs and bones, were all affected on different scales. As expected of the right protector of the school of Yin Yang, the most trusted person of the Eastern Emperor Tai. He is indeed different. The sound of praise shocked Moon Goddess. She turned her head and saw Wu Qin smiling. At that moment he was enduring the attack of Moon Goddess's true energy, but strangely, nothing happened to him. Boom, boom, boom. The true energy blasted onto Dustless's body, and there was even a metallic sound. "How is this possible? How can he not die?" Moon God shouted in a trembling voice. Her voice was even a bit shrill. "He took a direct hit from the true energy without any warning, and he is still fine. Is this guy's skin bronze?" Moon Deity's head was spinning and she felt dizzy. She finally understood why Quicksand lost to Dustless. "Why are you so surprised?" Seeing Moon God's stunned expression, Dustless said calmly, "In front of absolute power, no one is an exception. The Eastern Emperor Tai will follow in your footsteps in the future. The only surprising thing is," glancing at the energy ripples on his body, Dustless praised, "this is true energy, right? Legend has it that the school of Yin Yang specializes in Yin Yang arts. I didn't expect there to be someone like you. Don't be too proud." Hearing Dustless's senior-like tone, Moon God was shocked. Suddenly, a dazzling golden light burst out from her body. Soul Dragon Swimming. The light gathered and compressed according to Moon God's will. In the end, it turned into a strange-looking giant bird. The bird's clear cry was filled with endless nobility. It flapped its wings, and a violent impact burst out from its body. The most surprising thing was that this strange-looking giant bird had 3 legs. "This is the 3-legged golden crow?" Dustless stared at the strange creature coming toward him. In myths and legends, such creatures had extraordinary status and were known as divine birds. Soul Dragon Swimming. "Let's see how extraordinary you are." The light in his hand disappeared. Dustless, who was going to crush the golden crow, suddenly stopped. He stared at the golden bird with interest. It seemed that he was going to take the attack directly with his body. Is he crazy? Seeing this, Moon God took the opportunity to break free from Dustless's restraint. Seeing that this guy was full of interest and looking at the 3-legged golden crow with anticipation, her face fell. Dustless was obviously looking down on her. In the school of Yin Yang, there were only 3 people who could use the Soul Dragon Swimming so far. Moreover, their status was frighteningly high. Left Guardian Xing Hun, Moon God herself, and Yu Er's mother, Concubine Yen, who was known as the first extraordinary woman of the school of Yin Yang. Currently, only the 3 of them could use it. As for Yu Er, although she would use it in the future, she didn't know how to use it now. "You overestimate yourself. Let me see where you get your confidence from to be so arrogant." Moon God snorted and stared at Dustless with her eyes wide open. At this moment, her heart was also shaken. She only hoped that the Soul Dragon Swimming could seriously injure Dustless. That calm and relaxed face of his was too much of an eyesore. Chapter 1809. Brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, pay the price for your arrogance. Yueshin frowned. She was extremely unhappy with Dustless's actions. Although it was said that cultivators focused on having a clear mind and few desires, they rarely got angry, especially since Yueshin was one of the best in the school of Inyang. She did not know what angry meant and had never felt this way before. However, as the saying went, there were exceptions to everything. Now that Dustless had repeatedly insulted her, the anger in her heart rose. She was the second most important person in the school of Inyang. What did this brat take her for? A nobody that he could trample on? How dare you insult His Majesty Donghuang, you short-sighted brat? Seeing the soulful dragon spirit rush toward Dustless, who was still acting as if nothing had happened, Yueshin's eyes narrowed into crescents as she stared straight at Dustless. She was very happy to see this despicable fellow suffer. However, Yueshin was destined to be disappointed. Dustless was completely fine. This is the so-called soulful dragon spirit? The so-called yin-yang technique? Bathing in the golden ocean, Wuchen closed his eyes, and the light kept bombarding his body like endless waves. He was carefully experiencing the different mysteries of the soul dragon swim. After a while, he shook his head and said disappointedly, "What, soul dragon swim? It's just a joke. I was looking forward to it, but it's just SOS." After a while, Dustless suddenly opened his eyes and stared at the giant bird in the void. He was dispirited. "I've played enough. You can disappear now." Glancing faintly at the 3 golden crows, the surging spiritual pressure in Wu Chen's body instantly reached an incredible level. 90 Black Coffin of Padao. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Dense energy exploded in an instant, and invisible black blades pierced toward the giant bird in the void. The inhumane dismemberment began. The 90 Black Coffin of Padao cut the 3-legged golden crow into 8 pieces. Its entire body was torn to pieces by the violent energy. That simple? The moon goddess stared blankly at this strange scene. In the entire school of Inyang, only she, Xinghun, and concubine Yen knew how to use the soul dragon. The others didn't even know what it was. Do you think this is a profound move? What a joke. Moon god, this so-called dragon soul is actually a type of true qi. It's just that its power is a little special. It's stronger than ordinary true qi. Dustless calmly explained, dragon soul was like the tailed beast chakra in Naruto. Its density and power were higher than the human chakra. Other than that, there was nothing special about it. Don't look shocked. If you knew about my past, you probably wouldn't care about such trivial matters. Dustless approached the moon goddess like a ghost. He grabbed her chin and said, "Do you know the whereabouts of the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon? How do you know about this?" The moon goddess ignored Dustless's threat and retorted. She caught a glimpse of ambition in Dustless's eyes. "I'm the one asking you now, not the other way around." "Watch your words." Dustless snorted and said hoarsely, "Your life is still in my hands. It's useless even if you kill me. My understanding of the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon is also very limited." The moon goddess replied calmly, "If I really knew the problem with the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon, I wouldn't have counted on that little girl." "That's true." Dustless didn't comment. He didn't doubt it. Until now, the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon was still a secret. "However, I have a special hobby. I only have 2 policies for captives. One is to become my spy, and the other is to become the enemy's soul. What's your choice?" If he could make the moon goddess betray him and make her his confidant, Dustless could seize the opportunity to snatch the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon when the Inyang school obtained it. "You want me to betray His Excellency Donghuang?" The moon goddess frowned and a murderous look flashed in her eyes. She sneered and said, "Do you know who His Excellency Donghuang is?" "I really don't know who he is." Dustless answered truthfully. Then his expression turned cold and he sneered. "However, there's one thing I'm sure of. No matter who Donghuang Tai is, even if he knows astronomy and geography, he's no match for me." "You!" The moon goddess's mouth twitched when she heard that. She said gloomily, How dare you say such things? Don't you know how to write the word shameless? I think you don't know how to write the word death. Dustless suddenly grabbed the moon goddess's throat. He only used a little strength, but the moon goddess's face turned red. She gasped for air as if she could suffocate at any time. It doesn't matter if I yield to this guy for now. The moon goddess thought of a countermeasure and chose to yield for now. There was no other way. The situation was stronger than her. With her own strength, defeating Dustless was only a dream. Let's find a suitable opportunity to leave. Having made her decision, the moon goddess immediately said in a low voice, "Life is short. I still haven't understood the true meaning of living, so I'm willing to help you." That's not enough. Do you think you can convince me with just a few words? Dustless's lips curled into a deep smile. He moved his lips close to the moon goddess's ear and said something. The latter's expression changed drastically. Chapter 1810. The moon deity was stunned. She had seen many evil ideas and heard of all kinds of weird schemes, but she was still stunned by Dustless's evil idea. "You want me to sneak up on Xing-hun?" The moon deity's face darkened, and there was a hint of anger in her tone as she reprimanded, "Do you know the consequences of sneaking up on Xing-hun? He already has prejudice against me. After the sneak attack, he will definitely be punished by the Donghuang Pavilion. Donghuang, you are pushing me into a fire pit." Seeing Dustless's eyes roll, the moon deity immediately changed her tone. "This has nothing to do with me." Dustless shrugged and looked at the moon deity with a gloating expression. He chuckled and said, "If you don't sneak up on him, I won't be able to trust you, and I will have to make that little brat vomit blood. This is difficult to do." Without even thinking, the moon deity rejected and said, "Xing-hun and I are on par. I am the right guardian, and he is the left guardian. We are on the same level." "Difficult to do?" Dustless laughed and suddenly grabbed the moon deity's neck again. He sneered and said, "If you can't do it, you will die here now." "Fine, I promise you." After thinking for a while, the moon deity finally gritted her teeth and compromised. "Speaking of which, your mission this time is to take you air away, right?" Dustless changed the topic and said, "She seems to be the key to unlocking the secret of the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon." "That's right." The moon deity nodded. She was already prepared to fail the mission. With the relationship between Dustless and you air, he would definitely not let the moon deity take you air away. "I will find a suitable opportunity to buy time for you. Whether you can take you air away or not will depend on your ability." Dustless's words stunned the moon deity. After a moment of silence, she asked in surprise, "Did I hear wrongly? Are you going to help me take her away? I hope this is not an illusion." "Illusion? If it's an illusion, do you think you can still lose to me?" Dustless snorted and explained the reason. "The 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon mean a lot to me, so I can only wrong you, for now. Your Yin-Yang school must treat her well, or else." Boom boom boom. As soon as he finished speaking, a shocking aura erupted from Dustless's body. Kakaka. Moon God's body bent unnaturally. She was being suppressed by some mysterious and powerful power. Moon God was under a lot of pressure. She started to sweat. She knelt on one knee. "This isn't the aura of an ordinary human. Who the hell is this guy?" Moon Goddess's body was cold. Her most basic resistance was crushed by the monstrous aura. Even the ground under her feet shook slightly as if there was an earthquake. It was enough to show how powerful Dustless's aura was. Seeing Dustless's eyes, which were as deep as the horizon, fear flashed in the moon goddess's eyes. It was as if her life could be taken away at any moment. It was just a thought away. "This aura," Moon God's lips moved. She looked at Dustless in shock. This majestic aura was boundless. She was like a lone boat in a vast ocean that could be destroyed at any time. "Moon God, remember this. This is just a simple warning. If you dare to play any tricks, do you know what a meteor hitting a planet looks like? Oh, no, I should say, do you know what a meteor hitting a Yin-Yang school looks like? If you don't know, You can try to imagine it. Dustless smiled innocently. His tone was very casual, but Moon God was so shocked that she broke out in cold sweat. Although she didn't know what Dustless was talking about, Moon God could hear the endless killing intent behind his words. Okay, you can leave now. I will find a loophole and let you take you away. Dustless waved his hand and signaled Moon God to leave. Your subordinate will leave now. Seeing this, Moon God bowed slightly and left. Her figure disappeared from Dustless's sight in an instant. I don't think you dare to mess around. Staring in the direction that Moon God disappeared, Dustless went back the way he came. After Moon God attacked Xing Hun, with his personality, he will not let Moon God off easily. After this, he will definitely inform Dong Huangtai. If Dong Huangtai knows that Moon God has become one of my people, Dustless stroked his chin and smiled brightly. Dong Huangtai was a strange person. No one knew what he was thinking and no one knew his identity. All of this was still a mystery. But there was no harm in thinking about it. Once this matter was exposed, Xing Hun and Moon God would definitely turn a small matter into a big matter. Xing Hun would seize this rare opportunity and would not let Moon God off easily. After offending Xing Hun from the Yinyang school, if it was exposed that Moon God was in cahoots with Dustless, she would no longer have a place in this world. Hence, she could only cling onto Dustless's thigh with all her might, unless Moon God wanted to die. It's so quiet. On the way back, Dustless had a strange expression on his face. When he sneaked out just now, there were still many people guarding the place. However, the Mo family's mechanical city was like a dead city. There was not a single person in sight. What is this poisonous fog? Suddenly, as Dustless walked deeper and deeper, the originally fresh air suddenly became oppressive. With a slight inhale, it made people feel that their heads were swelling and their bodies had become much heavier. Could it be Qilianqianya? Squinting his eyes, Dustless quickened his pace. In the original work, Wei Zhuang was able to break through the Mo family's mechanical city in an extremely short period of time because of Qilianqianya. Chapter 1811. The Juyu Thousand Night was an extremely strange poison that originated from Crimson Viper's arm. Legend had it that it was refined over 1,000 nights, during which it could not be exposed to sunlight. Otherwise, all the previous efforts would be wasted. It spread through the respiratory tract, and the stronger the sunlight, the more poisonous it would be. It was known as, when the sun is at its peak, the city will be slaughtered. It was colorless and odorless, and could kill people without leaving a trace. I forgot about this. I hope Miss Duanmu and you are fine. Dustless sighed and went straight into the depths of Mechanical City. Come and save us. We are all disciples of the school of Moism. How dare you ignore us? Damn it, where is the basic trust between people? We are all disciples of the school of Moism, so why are you looking at us coldly? Facing some of the school of Moism's disciples who had been shot, Dustless just turned into a breeze and floated past them. He was not a member of the school of Moism, and he did not have the heart of a saint. Saving them, forget it. In the huge school of Moism, Dustless only cared about two people, Duanmu Rong and Yu. Damn Gong Shucho, this old man is really lucky. It was my mistake not to kill him back then. Communicating with his invisible doppelganger, Dustless learned about the terrible situation of the school of Moism. The huge mechanical city was almost under the control of the Juyu Thousand Night. Even those who barely escaped the Juyu Thousand Night were attacked by Gong Shucho and Wei Zhuang's flowing sand. Even Yen Dan of the school of Moism and people from other sects, such as Xiao Yaozi of the school of Taoism and Zhang Liang of the school of Confucianism, were heavily injured by Wei Zhuang's cavalry. There were even quite a number of people who were captured alive. In the end, everyone fled like locusts. The current mechanical city was as chaotic as a pot of porridge. Of course, Great Si Ming and Young Si Ming of the school of Yinyang were among the people who helped Wei Zhuang. When the battle started, the anti-Qin alliance was at a complete disadvantage, even though they had experts like Yen Dan, Xiao Yaozi, and Gunia. But in the end, they were still not as strong as Wei Zhuang's side. To be safe, Gongshu Qiu even brought the strongest masterpiece of the Gongshu family, Saburo Pe, a powerful mechanical beast, into Mechanical City, causing the Mahis to be caught off guard and suppressed. Mechanical beasts were difficult to deal with, and not everyone was like Dustless, who had the strength to fight against mechanical beasts. When facing Saburo Pe, even an expert like Gunia would be doomed if he was careless. Especially this time, in order to wash away the shame, Gongshu Qiu brought several Pe to Saburo to attack the Mo family's Mechanical City. However, although the Mo family's situation was extremely bad, the only thing that was worth rejoicing was that Tianming, and Xiaoyu had all managed to escape. Moreover, just like in the original work, they had no choice but to step into the Mo family's forbidden area. Ta-da-da! At this moment, Dustless's footsteps suddenly came to a halt. In the tunnel ahead, there was suddenly the sound of hurried footsteps. He seems to be. Dustless squinted his eyes. When he saw who it was, he said in surprise, Yen Dan from the Mo family. It's rare to see him in such a sorry state. Dustless laughed eerily. It was very strange and had an inexplicable chill. His body was like a block of ice, emitting a deadly chill and killing intent. This was a good opportunity to kill Yen Dan. Dustless tried to understand Yen Dan, but in the end, they were not the same kind of people. Yen Dan only wanted to save the world and save all living things, while Dustless wanted to live on as if nothing had anything to do with him. The difference in their ideals was too great, especially when Yen Dan had once abandoned his wife and daughter. This made Dustless even more annoyed. It's you? Mr. Dustless, it's great to have met you. Yen Dan, who was like a stray dog, had an excited expression on his face. When he thought of the Mo family's miserable state, he immediately asked for help. Mr. Dustless, although it's a little embarrassing to let you face Wei Zhuang alone, the safety of the Mo family is now in danger, and only you can save it. Hearing this, Dustless did not say anything. He just glanced at Yen Dan and said coldly, Yen Dan, who do you think caused the Mo family's miserable state? This? Of course it's the great Qin Empire. If it weren't for Yingzheng, how would we be in such a crisis? Wei Zhuang's Lu Sha and the Gongshu family are all working for him. Yen Dan clenched his fist and said angrily. He was out of breath, and there was a cloud of black gas between his eyebrows. It seemed that he had been poisoned by Jiyu Qinya. Although he had taken Duanmu Rong's 100-herb elixir as soon as he smelled Jiyu Qinya's scent, it was already too late. No, the person who caused all the danger today is you, the Mo family's Yen Dan. Dustless's words shocked everyone, pushing all the blame to Yen Dan. You're mistaken. The Mo family's current crisis is caused by Yingzheng. What does it have to do with me? Without even thinking about it, Yen Dan directly denied bringing the Mo family into danger. Although I am not talented, I will not bring the entire Mo family into danger. Otherwise, after the Tao of life and death is gone, how can I face the Mo family in the future? What you say sounds good, but your actions have brought the Mo family into danger. Dustless sneered and said sarcastically, you know that going against the Qin Empire is like throwing an egg against a rock, but you still led the Mo family to go against the Qin Empire. Isn't this like a moth flying into a flame, seeking your own death? Hearing this, Yen Dan opened his mouth, but suddenly he became silent. Dustless's words were reasonable. Chapter 1812. As everyone knew, the state of Qin was a super empire that unified the world. It ended the hundreds of years of conflict in this land. Whether Emperor Qin's merits outweighed his faults or his faults outweighed his merits was not important. All one needed to know was that for a sect like the Mo family, the state of Qin was a giant that they could not afford to offend. However, they still wanted to touch the tigers, but even though they could not afford to offend it. Wasn't this an act of seeking death? Mister, your prejudice against the Mo family is too great. The people of the world are living in an abyss of suffering. It is the responsibility of the Mo family to fight against the tyrannical Qin and save the people from the prison. After a moment of silence, Yen Dan said, unite all the schools of thought to fight against the king of Qin, Yingzheng. This is the voice of everyone who has been oppressed. So, the Mo family's destruction is also your own fault. Dustless shrugged with an expression that said, "Serves you right." The Mo family tried to persuade the people of Yingzheng to fight against Yingzheng. They even united all the sects in the world to fight against the state of Qin. Now that Yingzheng had gone mad and destroyed the Mo family, how could they blame Yingzheng? Yen Dan stared at Dustless with his burning eyes and said in a deep voice, "Mister, do you think what Yingzheng did was right?" "That's not it." Dustless shook his head when he heard this and said softly, "Our standpoints are different, so our opinions are naturally different. There is no right or wrong in this world. There are only winners and losers. The final winner will decide everything." It seems like Mr. still thinks what the Mo family did was wrong. That's why you chose to look at it coldly. Speaking of this, Yen Dan's face gradually turned ugly. "That's right. In my eyes, what the Mo family did was stupid. Or rather, as the leader of the Mo family, you, Yen Dan, are stupid." Dustless did not hide the sneer on his face. He said coldly, "The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. What's the point of talking about justice? What a joke. The winner is the righteous one." Looking at the thousands of years of history, no matter what the final outcome was, no matter good or bad, the person who wrote the history was always the winner who stepped on the loser's head. "Mister, you are wrong." Rolling his eyes, Yen Dan immediately retorted with a flushed face, "Sir? I say, Master Juzi, if I remember correctly, you were poisoned by the Juyu Chinya, right?" A sudden question interrupted Yen Dan. Dustless's eyes shone with a strange light. "Yes, I was accidentally poisoned. Not only me, but most of the people in the Mo family were poisoned as well. It's just that everyone's symptoms are different. I have a vigorous inner body. After taking Miss Rong's 100 herbs pill, I can temporarily suppress it." Although Yen Dan had no idea what Dustless meant, he still nodded and admitted it. "TSK, this is perfect." Dustless smacked his lips, and the gloomy smile on his face became even more obvious. "Perfect?" Hearing this, Yen Dan raised his eyebrows slightly. He cupped his fists and asked in confusion, "I'm ignorant. May I ask, what do you mean by perfect?" Of course. The oily light in Dustless's eyes turned into an awe-inspiring strength. In a flash, his body disappeared without a trace. What a fast speed! Seeing this, Yen Dan's pupils shrank. He had long heard that Dustless's speed was as fast as lightning. When he moved, he could not even see a trace of him. Now that he saw it, he suddenly felt that the previous saying was ridiculous. This could no longer be described as fast. According to Yen Dan's understanding, this was basically a space jump. Suddenly, Yen Dan felt a sharp pain in his chest. He quickly lowered his head, and his eyes widened. He wanted to see the horror, but he saw a golden sword end his life. The Mo family's Yen Dan was poisoned. His strength was suppressed without limit, and then he was killed by the Qin Kingdom's soldiers. Isn't this your perfect death? The person holding the sword was precisely the Dustless with a cold and callous face. Why did you do this? It hurts. The Mo family's Yen Dan raised his head with difficulty. The wound was still burning. The skin on his chest was all burned by the glowing sword. But Dustless curled his lips and said coldly, "I don't like to kill innocent people. The only thing that annoys me is that you are too hypocritical and heartless. This is the reason why I killed you." "You said I'm hypocritical and heartless?" Hearing this, the Mo family's Yen Dan raised his voice a few times. It was as if he suddenly regained his strength and shouted, "I take it as my responsibility to save the world. How dare you say I'm heartless? If I'm successful, I will rule the world. If I'm poor, I will only care about myself. I will overthrow the violent Qin kingdom. This is such a sacred and solemn task. You, on the other hand, obviously have the strength to fight against the Qin kingdom's army, but you don't care. You just watch the Mo family's disciples being devoured by tigers and wolves. What's the difference between you and the evil spirit?" Is that so? Then I should really admire your noble character." Dustless showed a smile of admiration. He then snorted and said, "Abandoning your wife and daughter, your thoughts are indeed not something an ordinary person like me can understand." Hearing the words abandoning his wife and daughter, Yen Dan's passionate face suddenly froze. He lowered his head in shame and was speechless. This was his biggest regret. Farewell, Boss Missouri family. Pulling out the Sky Cluster Cloud Sword, Wu Chen took a step forward and left. After taking a few steps, he suddenly stopped and said indifferently, "Perhaps I, who looked coldly at the death of others, am indeed an evil person. But in my eyes, a heartless person who abandons his wife and daughter doesn't even have the qualifications to be a human, let alone save the world. If you can't even protect your own wife, what confidence do you have to talk about saving the world? Yen Dan, it's time to wake up from this boring dream." Chapter 1813. Am I really wrong? Hearing Dustless's words, Yen Dan's mind was shaken. His body was heavily injured, and his life force was quickly draining away. In the end, he could not take it anymore and knelt on the ground. "No, I've said it before. Everyone's opinions are different, so you're not wrong. On the contrary, in the eyes of the Mo family, you're very noble, but..." Then, Wu Chen changed the topic. After leaving a sentence, he turned around and left. "You're not very lucky to have met me, whose views and thoughts are extreme and wrong. I've always hated people who abandon their wives and daughters, so I'll have to trouble you to go to hell." Hearing this, Yen Dan, the Mo family's great master, only had one thought about this: willful. This guy, he was too willful. Staring at Dustless, Yen Dan finally understood what kind of person Dustless was. He did everything as he pleased. Nothing could restrain him. "Oh right." Dustless stopped again and glanced at the black weapon beside Yen Dan. A powerful gravitational force exploded from his palm. "I think this thing is not bad. It'll be my toy from now on." After saying this, Dustless took ink eyebrows and disappeared. Dustless had taken away the weapon that belonged to the Mo family on a whim. Unknowingly, he had been influenced by Gilgamesh and had become fond of collecting rare treasures, even if they were useless to him. At this moment, in another direction, a large number of disciples of the Mo family had gathered in the spacious hall. There were more than 100 of them, but without exception, all of them were tied up in heavy chains, and all of them looked extremely dispirited. An indescribable sadness hung on everyone's faces. "Congratulations, Lord Wei Zhuang. The traitors of the Mo family have all been captured. Apart from a few that escaped, most of them have been captured alive." The hunchbacked old man's tone carried a hint of complacency. "Is that so?" Hearing this, Wei Zhuang only coldly glanced at him, his face expressionless. The Mo family had been wiped out, and even his senior apprentice brother, Sword Saint Gunia, and a few of the higher-ups of the Mo family had been captured alive. However, Wei Zhuang was not as happy as he had expected. It was to the extent that there was even a hint of vitality in his eyes that were pulsing with hostility and ferocity. His entire body was filled with an austere aura. "Lord Wei Zhuang." Seeing Wei Zhuang's strange state, the hunchbacked old man pulled a distance away from Wei Zhuang. The latter exploded with a bone-piercing killing intent, which made Gong Shuqiu shudder. Although his skill in mechanism techniques was amazing, his martial arts were not so good. Facing Wei Zhuang's killing intent, Gong Shuqiu's heart was trembling violently. It seemed that the distance was not far enough. Gong Shuqiu and Wei Zhuang were about 30 to 40 feet apart. Only then did Gong Shuqiu relax and catch his breath. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The demon sword Shark's Tooth, which was circulating with a cold light, was suddenly unsheathed. The tip of the sword was pointed at the middle-aged man with an indifferent expression. Wei Zhuang no longer concealed the flames on his body as he hoarsely said, "Senior brother, tell me where that fellow is." "That fellow?" Hearing this, Gun Ye frowned in confusion. He shook his head and said, "Little Zhuang, of course I know about the grudges between you and me. As for the conflicts between you and other people, I do not know anything about them." Trying to hide something only makes it more conspicuous. I heard that your relationship with that fellow is not bad. Wei Zhuang snorted and said coldly, "Where is that fellow called Dustless? He injured my subordinates one after another. If I do not teach that fellow a lesson, how can I, the owner of Lu Sha, show my face?" Dustless? Hearing this, Gun Ye suddenly understood. However, he still shook his head and said in a confused tone, "I do not know about that senior's movements. You have asked the wrong person." Senior? Wei Zhuang squinted his eyes and said mockingly, "You actually called him senior? I heard that Dustless is very young. He is not even 20 years old. You actually called him senior? You are a disgrace to the Phantom Valley." The world is big and full of strange things. The Phantom Valley is just one of the many sects in the world. There are countless strange people in the world. There are many people who are more powerful than you and me, Gunye replied calmly. Even though Wei Zhuang's shark teeth were pressed against his throat, his voice was still calm. "Is that so? You actually think so highly of him? To be honest, I am looking forward to meeting him even more." Wei Zhuang looked coldly at Gunye. Then he looked at Duanmu Rong and said, "I heard that you are very close to Dustless. If I kill you, that fellow will take the initiative to come and find me." Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, a huge black fog swept over, followed by a disdainful voice. It sounded like a ghost behind Wei Zhuang, and there was no warning at all. "Brat, the next time you say something like this, please look behind you." Could it be him? Qi Lian's beautiful eyes froze as she stared at the evil black wind. When she saw the vague figure, she quickly shouted, "Lord Wei Zhuang, behind you!" Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The deadly blade swept out. Wei Zhuang suddenly turned around and slashed out with the shark teeth in his hand. "You dare to be so impudent with such strength? Do you find it fun to bully little children? Now that the enemy has changed, I will let you have a taste of being trampled on." Seeing the blade descending from the sky, the black figure laughed coldly. Then, a ferocious force erupted from within his body. Shinra Tensei. Chapter 1814. Shinra Tensei. Invisible gas visible to the naked eye burst out of his body and came into close contact with the falling blade. Boom! Wei Zhuang's full blow fell on the seemingly weak airwave. He thought that it would be destroyed with a swing of his sword, but the touch from his hand made Wei Zhuang secretly shocked. What kind of defense is this? I can't break it. Wei Zhuang's tone carried a trace of disbelief and shock. His eyes were fixed on the point where the mysterious energy came into contact with the shark-tooth sword. Not to mention defeating it in one move, even causing a ripple would be a fool's dream. Long hair, short insight. Hearing this, Dustless just responded with a simple sneer, and then whispered softly, "Go back to where you came from." As his voice fell, the tyrannical repulsive force broke out more turbulent fluctuations, and Wei Zhuang, who was caught off guard, was bounced back. On the battlefield, the change between the prey and the hunter was often extremely fast. A little carelessness, or the opponent suddenly used some mysterious and powerful move, the hunter may become the prey. Right now, Wuchen was like this. Without those ninjutsu that could destroy the world, just a simple Shinra Tensei could send Wei Zhuang flying without any effort. Boom! On the thick wall, Wei Zhuang was awkwardly hanging upside down, and his head was dizzy. I was defeated so easily? Wei Zhuang's eyes were dull and empty, as if his soul had been taken away, and he became a walking corpse in name only. Then his old face began to tingle. Damn it. Thinking of his arrogant words before, Wei Zhuang only felt that Dustless was grabbing his cheeks and slapping him a few times with his old shoes that hadn't been cleaned for 100,000 years. Just now, Wei Zhuang was like a protagonist who solemnly announced that others were arranged by fate, but he was going to arrange his own fate. Damn guy, you dare to attack Master Wei Zhuang. Qi Lian's phoenix eyes were full of anger, and her hand flicked. When the thin and soft long sword at her waist was about to sweep out, the cold tone made her stop as if she had been electrocuted. The fact that you're still alive is entirely due to my great mercy. This kind of luck will not happen a second time, so please cherish it. Dustless's seemingly casual words contained great power. Qi Lian's small hand that was about to grab the soft long sword shuddered and then stopped unexpectedly. Damn it, why am I afraid of this guy, damn it? Crimson Viper snapped out of his daze and cursed inwardly. Just as he was about to draw his sword again, he suddenly felt a pair of cold eyes that could suppress a human's soul staring at him. Raising his head, he saw that the owner of the pair of eyes that were as dark as the universe was Dustless. Step down, Crimson Viper. Wei Zhuang glared at Qi Lian. The cold glint in his eyes was clearly warning her not to interfere. Or rather, interfering would not change anything. So strong, so powerful. The Mo family is saved. The giant doesn't seem to be that strong. It would be great if he was the giant from our Mo clan. There's nothing wrong with that. The next time the giant is chosen, we'll just recommend him. Seeing Dustless injure Wei Zhuang with such shocking strength and his disdainful gaze, Qi Lian from the quicksand was even more terrified. She could not even muster the courage to resist. Such domineering strength filled everyone with fear. Idiots, I wonder what you'll think if you know that I've already killed the giant from your Mo clan. Dustless smiled in the face of the chaos around him. This was not their fault. Humans were such creatures. Once they encountered difficulties, they would crave the help of others around them. However, the price to ask for Dustless's help was very high. The Mo clan could not afford this price. Even if they really wanted him to be the giant, Dustless would refuse. Although the Mo clan was not bad, its doctrine of benefiting the world was not suitable for Dustless. A good chance. A sinister voice suddenly resounded from behind. Immediately, a mysterious winged human figure suddenly launched a fatal sneak attack in front of everyone's eyes. Cold, gleaming claws had already reached for the back of Dustless's head. What a despicable fellow! Seeing this, the disciples of the Mo clan all cursed this person for being shameless. Not only did Lu Sha have the advantage in numbers, he even dared to launch a sneak attack. How shameless! Is it you? Dustless turned his head and revealed half an eye. Seeing the blood-red gaze, he immediately lost interest. Looks like you're ready to go to hell. Since that's the case, I'll take your life. Before you die, remember that the person who killed you is called Dustless. It'll be bad if you don't recognize me when you become a ghost and seek revenge on me. Light flickered in his hand as Dustless activated the glint fruit. His body disappeared in an instant. This speed again. Everyone's expression changed, including Wei Zhuang and Gunya. They could not even see Dustless's shadow. How were they supposed to fight like this? The battle had not even started, but they were already at an absolute disadvantage. Where is he? The secret bat who had launched a sneak attack on Dustless was shocked. The former had disappeared like a ghost. Go to hell. An indifferent voice descended from the sky. The secret bat's pupils shrank. Up there? Professor Pucci! Before he could finish his sentence, the golden cold light split his body. The divine sword that could cut through metal like mud was unstoppable, and it cut the hidden bat in half in one fell swoop. What a terrifying guy! Everyone's expression changed. Even if the secret bat was not as powerful as Wei Zhuang and Gunya, Dustless had killed a powerful expert with one strike. He seemed to have gotten used to this kind of graceful and calm demeanor. Chapter 1815. What a cruel method. Seeing the hidden bat's body split in half, everyone's face turned pale as they stared at Dustless in fear. They couldn't help but distance themselves from him. In everyone's eyes, that calm gaze that could kill anyone did not seem to belong to a human being. How dare you? Seeing this, Wei Zhuang's face twitched as he stared at the hidden bat's body. Finally, his gaze landed on Dustless's body. His face turned red and he wanted to find a hole to hide in. Although the hidden bat wasn't worth mentioning, Dustless had killed his subordinates in front of him. There was no doubt that he didn't put Wei Zhuang, the owner of quicksand, in his eyes at all. Swish, swish, swish. Wei Zhuang rushed over in anger. Swish, swish, swish. The veins on Wei Zhuang's right arm bulged as he stared at Dustless. He threw the shark tooth in his hand towards Dustless's throat in a straight line. Why did he throw the shark tooth? Everyone was puzzled and looked at Wei Zhuang in confusion. They couldn't figure out what Wei Zhuang was trying to do. However, Wei Zhuang and Qi Lian, who knew the inside story, narrowed their eyes. This move, could it be 100 Steps Flying Sword? Gunnia's eyes widened as he shouted in disbelief, "Senior, don't be careless. This is one of the Ghost Valley's secret techniques, 100 Steps Flying Sword." Haha, it's too late. Qi Lian giggled coquettishly as her charming eyes narrowed into crescents. 100 Steps Flying Sword? Everyone present revealed shocked expressions when they heard this. Everyone had naturally heard of the 100 Steps Flying Sword before, but this was Sword Saint Gunnia's famed technique. How had Wei Zhuang managed to steal it? 100 Steps Flying Sword? Dustless's lips curled up as he stared at the fatal sword light that was about to pierce his throat. It's just so. Dustless's eyes froze as he stared at the demon sword shark tooth. He didn't show any fear as he dashed forward. The ignorant are fearless. You're courting death. Seeing this, Wei Zhuang sneered. In his mind, he could already see the scene of Dustless's tragic death. Facing the sharp edge of the 100 Steps Flying Sword, not only did he not take a defensive posture, he even recklessly faced it head-on. His brain must have been flooded with water. Armament hockey hardening. Murmuring, Dustless's right arm instantly turned dark black. Then, under everyone's gaze, Dustless made another unexpected move. From an outsider's point of view, that right hand that was as thin as a willow branch directly grabbed the demon sword shark's tooth. This guy. Is he trying to catch the blade with his bare hands? Dustless's actions were no different from setting himself on fire, causing everyone to jump in fright. They all looked at this scene in shock. People who dared to face the 100 Steps Flying Sword head-on were as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. Now, Dustless was even able to catch the blade with his bare hands, which refreshed everyone's understanding of him. How dare he do this? Could it be that Dustless, this kid, thinks that he is made of steel and iron and can ignore the attack of the blade? Red Viper covered her cherry mouth and said to herself in shock. Without exception, everyone was shocked by Dustless's crazy actions. The scene of catching the blade with his bare hands was shocking enough. Now, catching the 100 Steps Flying Sword, with his bare hands touched everyone's heart. Bastard, does this kid look down on me so much? After Wei Zhuang's face twitched, he was furious and felt that he was being looked down upon. I promise that your hateful cheek will be torn apart and become a bloody hole. Is it? Your ambition is really big. Unfortunately, Dustless ignored everyone's shocked expression, and his right arm opened lightly, and his palm attacked the flying sword. There's no chance. Wu Chen's open palm suddenly clenched. Compared to just now, Wu Chen's fist had obviously swelled up a lot. Looking closely, there was an additional sharp sawtooth sword in his hand. Did he really catch it? Are you kidding me? That's the 100 Steps Flying Sword. Wei Zhuang must have gone easy on him. Look at Wei Zhuang's face, it's about to explode. It doesn't look like he went easy on him. So powerful, even more powerful than Master Juzi. Witnessing Wu Chen shatter the world-renowned 100 Steps Flying Sword with a single hand, the disciples of the Mo family were in disbelief. Gunnia and the others were also shocked. What are you angry about? Dustless looked at Wei Zhuang and heard the sound of his teeth grinding. He said indifferently, Wei Zhuang, with your strength, it's already not bad for a mere human to be able to do this. I don't need anyone to find excuses for failure, Wei Zhuang replied coldly. He did not appreciate it at all. On the surface, Wei Zhuang did not seem disappointed, but in reality his heart was bleeding. After this battle, his name would probably become a laughingstock in the Jianghu. All the members of Quicksand and a large number of the Qin Kingdom's cavalry could not take down Dustless. He had already lost face to the world, and Dustless was bound to use his name as a stepping stone. What an eyesore! Dustless glanced at the demon sword shark's tooth in his hand, and his hand was panicked by the protruding barbs. I'll help you change the appearance of the shark's tooth, no need to thank me. Dustless smiled kindly, and his right hand gripped the shark's tooth with more force. Crack, crack, crack. The demon sword shark's tooth's blade made a cracking sound, and then countless fragments fell to the ground. The shark's tooth also let out a strange wail. How strong is this guy? He broke Wei Zhuang's sword? Chapter 1816. Crack, crack, crack. The steel fragments that belonged to the blade peeled off layer by layer, and the unique sorrowful cry of the demon sword shark tooth was heard clearly by everyone. I've long heard that Dustless's strength is amazing. Seeing it today, it's true. Old Man Ban and the others breathed heavily, their eyeballs about to fall out of their sockets. Crushing the demon sword shark tooth with his own strength was unparalleled in the world. Although the shark tooth was not in the sword manual, its power was comparable to the Abyss Rainbow, which was ranked second in the manual. But even if it could compete with Abyss Rainbow, so what? It was still crushed by Dustless like porcelain. Not only were the Mo family's people stunned, but even the Quicksand's people were dumbfounded. Is this guy even human? Wei Zhuang's face alternated between green and white. It was extremely interesting. Being able to catch a white blade with his bare hands was already inconceivable. Now, Wu Chen had even caught the 100 steps flying sword with his bare hands. Moreover, he had even relied on pure strength to crush a shark tooth. In the entire world, Wei Zhuang truly could not think of a second person who could do this. But Dustless did it all. He was ridiculously monstrous. This kid is too strange. His strength and ability don't seem like something a human can do. Lord Wei Zhuang, leave the rest to us. Gong Shuqiu's small eyes flashed with the light of revenge as he recommended himself to Wei Zhuang. Okay, kill this kid for me, Wei Zhuang ordered with a dark face. At the same time, Wei Zhuang gave Qi Lian, Bai Feng, and the others a meaningful look, as if to say that if they saw the situation go wrong, they should quickly retreat. Crack, crack, crack. The ground suddenly shook violently, and then countless cracks appeared. Boom, boom, boom. The ground shook more and more violently, and the entire mechanical city of the Mo family was affected by the violent tremors, giving the illusion that it could collapse at any time. What is this? A robot dog? Turning his head, he saw several steel monsters walking out of the dark corridor. They looked like dogs, but they weren't dogs. Their bodies were covered with sharp barbs. If he approached them rashly, he might be crushed to pieces. Dustless, be careful. This is the Gongshu family's overbearing mechanism technique, Kutsu Saburo. The others were all laymen, but they were very familiar with Old Man Ban. This is Saburo Patu? Hearing this, Dustless's interest was immediately piqued. He stared at the mechanical monster with great interest. There were countless legends about Saburo Pa, and its power was even demonized by the people of the world. When the king of Qin, Yingzheng, was sweeping through the 6 states and conquering the world, when he encountered a fortress that was difficult to uproot, he completely relied on Patu Sanlang, who was provided by the Gongshu clan, to break through the fortress easily, making a great contribution to Yingzheng. Ao 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 ao. A hysterical roar came out of the golem's mouth. Then, its 4 limbs suddenly exploded with a tyrannical force, and it charged forward at a crazy speed. Rub, rub, rub. Countless blades shot out from the mechanical monster's body. The thickness of the blades was comparable to a human's arm. As long as one came into contact with them, they would turn into hedgehogs. Is that all? Insignificant skill. With a contemptuous smile, Dustless's hand suddenly emitted a large number of flashes of light, and he immediately threw them out with all his strength. Yasukani no Magatama. The light bullets that filled the sky gushed out in torrents. Their numbers were so great that they were like grains of sand in a desert. All of them blasted onto the body of the mechanical monster. Its big mouth that was filled with fangs instantly let out a faintly discernible miserable cry. Clang, clang, clang. The mechanical beasts that surrounded them were all riddled with holes without exception. Hundreds of holes appeared on each of the mechanical beasts after being hit by the blazing light bullets. The figure controlling the mechanical beasts was also killed, and his body was like a sieve. How is this possible? Seeing this, Gong Shucho was suddenly dumbfounded. His eyes bulged outward, and blood vessels covered them. What's so surprising about you? You want to defeat me with a pile of scrap metal? Dustless glanced at Gong Shucho lightly and mocked loudly. You don't go too far. Gong Shucho's old face turned green. He glared at the young man, shocked and angry. After all, he was an important minister of the king of Qin, Yingjing. Yingjing treated him with respect, but a Jianghu sorcerer dared to look down on him again and again. So what if I bully you? Do you want me to be considerate of an old man? Although you are old and weak, your mechanical arts are very crafty. Dustless continued to attack Gong Shucho. The old man was so angry that his eyes were seeing stars, and his body was shaking, as if he could fall down at any time. Pa-2 Suburo is not enough to deal with Dustless. I need more powerful mechanical beasts. Gong Shucho planned in his heart, and at the same time he turned to Wei Zhuang and the others and said, Master Wei Zhuang, you have to deal with him. Dustless is too. The words at the tip of his tongue stopped abruptly. Gong Shucho was speechless when he found that Wei Zhuang and the others behind him were playing the same trick as Dustless, disappearing into thin air. Where are they? Master Wei Zhuang. Gong Shucho shouted loudly, but there was no response. This idiot old man, doesn't he know that he has been abandoned? Pathetic. Dustless shook his head sympathetically. He looked at the depths of the corridor on the other side, where several figures were flickering. Gong Shucho, you idiot, haven't you noticed? Wei Zhuang and the others have already run away. Old Ban, who was born to be enemies with Gong Shucho, said sarcastically, when you ordered Pa-2 Suburo to fight Dustless, Wei Zhuang felt that he had no chance of winning, so he ran away without a word. Chapter 1817. They ran away? Hearing this, Gong Shucho was petrified on the spot. His eyes glazed over as he watched the quicksand members disappear into the distance. Preposterous! Those guys actually dared to trick this old man. Did they forget that we're allies? His Majesty won't let these traitors go. After a while, Gong Shucho came back to his senses and cursed. He didn't expect Wei Zhuang to be so shameless as to abandon him and run for his life alone. They should have all left together. Wei Zhuang was too much of a bastard. Old man, you're not worth enough. It's only right that you were abandoned. Old Man Ban laughed loudly. At the same time, he winked at Dustless, obviously telling him to hurry up and untie him. These guys actually ordered me around. Seeing the situation, Dustless sighed lightly and walked over to help untie the few people. Thank you, Dustless. The Mo family owes you another big favor. Duanmu Rong, who was the first to be untied, bowed and thanked him. She couldn't help but feel a little conflicted. Dustless had saved the Mo family several times, but the Mo family couldn't repay him. Ahem, you're treating me like an outsider. After all, Miss Duanmu has helped me before. It's only right that I return the favor. Dustless coughed awkwardly. Duanmu Rong's thank you made him feel particularly embarrassed. Before he killed Yen Dan, the Mo family's leader, there was no harm in accepting it. But now that he had killed Yen Dan, he couldn't help but feel guilty. You two have no romantic feelings for each other. Hurry up and untie me. My old bones can't handle it. My body can't compare to you young people. Old Man Ban complained. Dustless and Duanmu Rong ignored everyone else. I'll help everyone right now. Wait a moment. Duanmu Rong's face flushed red at Old Man Ban's words. She glared at Dustless and hurriedly untied Snow Lady, Gao Jianli, and the others. This is a good opportunity. Hurry up and run. Seeing the Mo family ignoring him, Gong Shucho felt that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to escape. Tell Mr. You've destroyed the Mo family's mechanical city. Don't you need to stay and apologize before leaving? The moment Gong Shucho turned around, a figure was already standing behind him. Robber Ji. Gong Shucho's heart chilled. Seeing this shifty-eyed young man, he knew that his escape plan was going to be in vain. He could only grit his teeth and threaten, "I am an important official of His Majesty the Emperor. If you dare to kill me, His Majesty the Emperor will not let the Mo family off. At that time, you will end up in an even more miserable state." "Idiot!" Dustless coldly snorted and casually sent out a flash of light to hit Gong Shuqiu. Pucci! A charred hole suddenly appeared in Gong Shuqiu's heart. He looked at Dustless unwillingly and finally fell to the ground. This guy. The Mo family members were confused. Of course, it was not because Dustless killed Gong Shuqiu. In their eyes, this old man deserved to die. After killing so many of the Mo family members, it would be too easy for Gong Shuqiu to die so easily. The only thing that puzzled them was that the laser beam was similar to true Qi, but it was the exact opposite. "Mister, what sect are you from?" Gun Nia could not suppress his curiosity and asked. Such a strange move is rarely seen in the world. Compared to it, the Phantom Valley's skills are not worth mentioning. The Mo family members were silent. If Gun Nia said this in the past, it would be considered flattery. However, after witnessing Dustless's miraculous strength, they felt that it was true. "I don't belong to any sect. There is no need to care about such a small matter." Dustless waved his hand and did not say anything. Even if he told them about the glint fruit's ability, they would not be able to understand it. In that case, it was better to keep quiet. In short, the Mo family's mechanical city is no longer safe. Let's retreat for now. Old Ban pondered for a while and took out a brocade pouch. He opened it quickly and said, "Mr. Zhang Liang ordered us to go to Shanghai. Lead the Mo family members and retreat quickly. Soon, I will activate the Azure Dragon to defeat the Qin army outside the city." "Go to Shanghai? Are we going to abandon the Mo family's mechanical city?" Big Iron Hammer was disappointed. His rough face was full of unwillingness. "That is unavoidable." Gao Jianli nodded in agreement and said, "The last stronghold of Mo clan has been breached. Although Gong Shuqiu is dead now, and there will be no one to help Ing Zheng build mechanical beasts in the future, it is no longer suitable for us to continue to stay in Mo clan's mechanical city. In this unprecedented calamity, most of Mo clan's mechanical city has been damaged. Thanks to Gong Shuqiu and Lu Sha, Mo clan's mechanical city has become a dead city. We have to leave." "That's right. Staying here is tantamount to waiting for death. Let's leave quickly." Dustless nodded in agreement. He came to this world for two purposes. One was to find the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon, which he already had a clue about. The other was to find the legendary Yellow Stone Heavenly Scroll. Dustless still remembered that the Yellow Stone Heavenly Scroll was in the hands of Chu Nangong. Later, when he went to Shanghai, Chu Nangong taught it to Tianming. Since staying in the Mo family's mechanical city was fruitless, he could only agree to go to Shanghai. "By the way, where is Lord Juzi?" Xuan Yu, who had been silent, suddenly asked. "Lord Juzi is stronger than us. Has he escaped?" Well, hearing this, Dustless's face flashed with an unnatural look. "Where did Juzi go?" "Of course, he was killed by him. To tell you the truth, Juzi Yen Dan of the Mo family has been killed by Qin soldiers." Chapter 1818. Juzi was killed by the soldiers of the Qin kingdom? Dustless did not have the slightest reason and decisively put all the blame on the Qin kingdom. Everyone knew about the grudge between the Mo family and the Qin kingdom. He was a God-given scapegoat. Master Juzi is dead? Hearing this, the cheeks of the Mo family members were as if struck by lightning. They were in a daze, including Duanmu Rong. Everyone stood still and did not move. That's impossible. Juzi's divine power is unparalleled. How could he be killed by the soldiers of the Qin kingdom? After a short silence, Gao Jinli, who recovered first, denied it loudly. "That's right. I gave Juzi the 100-herb pill. Logically speaking, he should not be affected by the dove feather thousand night." Duanmu Rong wrinkled her nose and questioned. Everyone's gazes looked towards Dustless without prior agreement. Unparalleled divine power? No one can escape the cycle of life and death. It's just a matter of time. In the face of everyone's doubts, Dustless was already prepared. He calmly replied, "There is no doubt that the 100-herb pill is amazing. However, it is not omnipotent. For example, if Juzi was poisoned and took the 100-herb pill, what would happen?" Hearing this, everyone was silent. Duanmu Rong's delicate face attracted everyone's attention in an instant. In this way, the effect will be greatly reduced. Duanmu Rong was silent for a moment before answering truthfully. "Commanders, something bad has happened." At this moment, a small group of Mo family disciples suddenly ran in and shouted, "Juzi is in the corridor in front. I don't know who killed him." At the same time, in another direction, "I've finally crawled out of this damned cage." Staring at the long-awaited light, Tianming, Xiaoyu, and Yu all smiled with joy. It was exactly the same as the original story. Tianming obtained the supreme weapon of the Mo family, non-offensive. Xiaoyu obtained the formation-breaking Overlord Spear. As for Yu, she obtained the phantasmal sound treasure box. "Yes, you're finally out. I've been waiting impatiently." An ethereal voice suddenly sounded. "Who is it?" Tianming and the other two were stunned. They turned their heads and saw a woman who was dressed very strangely. "First, let me introduce myself. You can call me the Moon Goddess." Her indifferent tone was the same as before, unchanging from beginning to end. "Who is the Moon Goddess? Is she a friend of the Mo family?" Tianming frowned. He felt that this woman was familiar, but he couldn't remember who she was. "Idiot, run 7. Xiaoyu rolled her eyes at Tianming and hurriedly dragged the two of them away. "I've never seen the Moon God before, but she has a famous title. She's one of the 2 grand preceptors of the state of Qin. With your level, how could you possibly catch up to him?" In the dark, a pair of deep eyes were quietly observing everything. Its appearance was the same as Dustless's, but it wasn't disrespectful. It was just an ordinary invisible doppelganger. "Remember, don't hurt you or else." Dustless snorted with a hint of warning before he disappeared into the darkness. "Of course." The Moon Goddess's calm face rippled, and then she bowed slightly and nodded. "Who the hell is this guy? Not only is he strong, but even this concealment technique is perfect." After a while, the Moon Goddess talked to herself. How Dustless appeared and how he disappeared, she didn't even feel it. At least the Moon Goddess knows what's good for her. Dustless's body calmed down after hearing the news. There was no harm in temporarily sending you to the Yin-Yang school. Anyway, the Moon Goddess had promised Dustless, and Dustless also left the Flying Thunder God Warlock on you. If there was an uncontrollable situation, he could still save her. In addition, you could also learn the Yin-Yang school's Yin-Yang technique, which was not a loss. Although for Dustless, the abilities of the Yin-Yang school were nothing, for you, who was an ordinary human, it was a great tonic. Disaster and blessing were interdependent. After eliminating the disaster, all that was left was good. Speaking of which, who the hell is that Zhang Liang? In a room in the mechanical city, Duanmu Rong was preparing a large number of herbs. In the previous battle, many disciples of the Mahis were infected by the poisonous gas. Although they were temporarily alive, many were still in a coma. Mr. Zhang Liang? Hearing this, Duanmu Rong showed a look of admiration and praised. "Mr. Zhang Liang's foresight is godly. He can help the Mahists out of danger every time." This time, Duanmu Rong fell silent and then sighed. "The only person who could avoid the attack of the Dove Feather Thousand Knight is Mr. Zhang Liang. Even the Taoist Xiao Yaozi couldn't escape. That guy is just SOSO. Seeing Duanmu Rong's look of admiration, Dustless was extremely unhappy. How could Zhang Liang escape this disaster? It was because this guy was in cahoots with Wei Zhuang. Maybe Wei Zhuang had already informed Zhang Liang in advance when attacking the mechanical city. "I can smell a strong sour smell." At this moment, the Snow Lady teased. "Sour? Are you saying that I'm jealous of Zhang Liang?" Dustless smiled and didn't say anything. Although Zhang Liang was indeed a rare genius, he had lived for hundreds of years. Was there a need to be jealous of Zhang Liang? There was no need at all. The only thing that made Dustless lament was that the Mahists might have been betrayed by Zhang Liang and helped him count the money. Chapter 1819. After all, Wuchen was an old monster who had lived for hundreds of years. He had long become indifferent to the reputation of the secular world, let alone jealousy. As long as Wuchen wanted to, he could pull down the current Emperor Yingzheng from the throne. In short, I think that guy is very suspicious. It's best to be on guard against him. After thinking it over, Dustless gave a friendly reminder. Mr. Dustless has a point. At that moment, an unexpected figure stepped forward. Although I suspect that Mr. Zhang Liang has wronged him, this old man has to remind everyone that Zhang Liang's family has been the Prime Minister of Korea for 5 generations. I'm sure everyone is aware of Wei Zhuang's situation. Both of them are Korean nobles, and they do have an unclear relationship. The person who stepped forward to speak for Dustless was Old Ban. Of course, just based on this, we can't doubt Mr. Zhang Liang. He wants us to go to Shanghai to defend the Mo family. What this old man means is to tell everyone that there's nothing wrong with being careful. This old man has been talking nonsense for a long time, but he hasn't said anything useful. Dustless couldn't help but shake his head. He had heard countless rumors about Zhang Liang in his previous life, but it didn't matter. His goal was to obtain the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon and the Yellow Stone Heavenly Book. He had no conflict of interest with Zhang Liang, so naturally, they wouldn't become enemies. That was the most important thing. Speaking of which, this old man has a favor to ask of Mr. Dustless. Old Ban suddenly cupped his fist and looked at Dustless, his eyes shining as if he had seen a lover. His fervent gaze made Dustless shudder, and he couldn't help but have goosebumps all over his body. Cough, cough, cough. Old man, if you have something to say, just say it. Don't look at me like that. Dustless pinched his arm, his face cold. If he didn't agree to Old Ban's request, this old man wouldn't let him go. Mr. Dustless, didn't you say that you don't belong to any sect or party? Old Ban suddenly asked. That's right. I'm just a wanderer. The disputes of the Jianghu have nothing to do with me. Dustless nodded. If that's the case, why don't? At this point, Old Ban's gaze on Dustless became even more fervent. After our discussion, we hope that Mr. Dustless can join the Mo family to deal with the Qin. We are willing to honor Mr. Dustless as the new great son. Huh? Hearing this, he was stunned for a moment before he quickly shook his head and said, That's impossible. Once I join a noble family, it's as deep as the ocean. I once swore an oath that I would never join any sect in my life. Please understand. Without even thinking about it, Dustless straightforwardly rejected. If the Mo family was really an unprecedented sect, then so be it. He wouldn't mind joining them to help them do evil and bring disaster to the world. But in the end, the Mo family's original purpose was to save the world, and Dustless didn't have the leisure to be refined, so it was better to forget about it. Is that so? What a pity. The Snow Lady and the others' eyes dimmed. It wasn't hard to see that they had all decided to make Dustless the new prodigy. Actually, I have a better candidate than me. With a strange smile, Dustless said, I think Tianming is a good candidate. Although that kid is a bit slow, he passed the Mo family's mechanical city and obtained the Mo family's supreme weapon, the non-offensive. Not only that, I remember that your prodigy seems to like him a lot. Hearing this, the Mo family's higher-ups looked at Dustless speechlessly. Even if you don't like the Mo family, there's no need to elect a kid to trick us. Especially a kid who doesn't have enough brains. If he's as smart as you, then it's fine. Although the Mo family's mechanical city is where the prodigies are tested, Tianming passed it and obtained the non-offensive. Also, the prodigy used to think highly of him, so he can give it a try. Gao Jianli suddenly interrupted. Besides, other than him, there's no one more suitable to be the prodigy. Tianming was the child of his elder brother, Jingku. No matter what, Gao Jianli had to support him. I also think that Tianming is a good candidate. He passed the Mo family's mechanical city, obtained the non-offensive, and gained the prodigy's approval. Do you all think that it's all due to luck? The Snow Lady chimed in. I agree too. Robber Ji replied while rubbing his chin. Hearing this, Master Ban was speechless. Master Su behind him was the same. Both of them looked at Duanmu Rong at the same time. If she agreed, Tianming would definitely become the new prodigy. I believe in Dustless. After a while, an inexplicable answer came out of Duanmu Rongtan's mouth. She said softly, I don't think that Wu Chen would harm the Mo family. After all, everyone has seen that he has saved the Mo family time and time again. Not to mention the great kindness from before, just the problem of Wei Zhuang this time. If it wasn't for Wu Chen, everyone might have already met in the netherworld. Hearing this, Master Ban and Master Su didn't know whether to laugh or cry. They looked at Dustless gloomily. Their resentful eyes were obviously saying, Why are you so shameless? However, they had to admit that if it weren't for Dustless, the Mo family would have been finished. Then let's give it a try for the time being. Master Ban and Master Su looked at each other and nodded in agreement. In fact, they had another idea. This way, they could get closer to Dustless and the Mo family. After all, the prodigy was chosen by Dustless. If the Mo family was in trouble in the future, they couldn't just stand by and do nothing. These people, Wu Chen's eyes widened when he saw this. He was quite depressed. He recommended Tianming to be the magnate only because he remembered that the magnate in the original work was Tianming. Then, he had an idea and spoke without thinking. To put it bluntly, it was just nonsense. However, this group of people had agreed, and unanimously. Chapter 1820. All members of the Mahist family had agreed that he had to take on the role of Tianming's imposter. There was no choice in this matter. He had to do it even if he didn't want to. However, when Yu was taken away by the Yinyang school, Duanmu Rong couldn't take the blow and fainted. Fortunately, Dustless's medical skills were extraordinary. After much effort, she was revived. Miss Duanmu, since the Yinyang school took Yu away and didn't kill her, they won't hurt her. You don't have to worry too much. In the carriage, Dustless looked at Duanmu Rong guiltily. After all, he had allowed the moon god to take Yu away. Where are we going? In the spacious carriage, Duanmu Rong was lying down peacefully. She could feel the bumpiness of the journey. Duanmu Rong's beautiful face was somewhat pale, looking extremely haggard. Shanghai. Dustless replied, You've been unconscious for a day and a night. The Qin army patrolling Mechanical City was defeated by Old Ban's Azure Dragon. Is that so? Duanmu Rong nodded and tried to get up. Unexpectedly, she had just recovered from a serious illness and her strength hadn't recovered yet. Unexpectedly, she fell into Dustless's arms. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. Duanmu Rong was embarrassed and scolded herself for being careless. She fell into Dustless's warm arms and subconsciously hugged Dustless's waist. Then her body and mind trembled as a strange electric current flashed through. Duanmu Rong felt as if all her strength had been sucked out. Her warm chest was very comfortable and she couldn't pull away from this vortex. Don't worry. Looking at Duanmu Rong, who was close by, Dustless pursed his lips and smiled. He patted her shoulder and said, was taken away by the Yinyang school's moon god. I have an unshirkable responsibility. In the future, I will bring her back safe and sound. Duanmu Rong gently nodded her head. Originally, she wanted to withdraw from Dustless's embrace, but unexpectedly, Dustless's palm landed on her shoulder, making it difficult for her to struggle. With a red face, she lay on her side in Dustless's embrace. Duanmu Rong lifted her gaze slightly and asked through the veil, Where are the giant, Tianming and Master Ban? I don't seem to see them. You're sick, so it's not suitable for us to speed up. I'll let Master Ban and the others go first. Duanmu Rong nodded. She was in a good mood and revealed a rare cheerful smile. She was lying in Dustless's arms at this moment. If she was caught, she would be embarrassed. But, at this point, Dustless's expression became strange, and his tone was extremely uncooperative. Sister Rong, I heard you talking to Dustless. Is it? A crisp and pleasant voice came from outside. Duanmu Rong was shocked. Just as she was about to struggle out of Dustless's embrace, it was already too late. A pair of watery eyes were staring blankly at Duanmu Rong, who was lying in Dustless's arms. Ahem, I didn't do it on purpose. Snow Girl hurriedly retracted her head with a red face and an extremely awkward expression. She then left the carriage. Didn't you say it was just the two of us? Duanmu Rong glared at Dustless unkindly. She felt that he was deliberately playing with her. Of course it's just the two of us, but there's also a person driving the carriage. Dustless could not help but laugh. He shrugged his shoulders with an expression that said it had nothing to do with him. You're twisting words and forcing logic. Duanmu Rong only rolled her eyes when she heard that. After she heaved a sigh of relief, she felt relieved. Time flew by, and the night was silent. Duanmu Rong lay in Dustless's embrace and passed the night with a satisfied expression. When she woke up the next day, it was already late in the morning. Dustless was not a monk with a beauty in his arms. It was inevitable that he would do some inappropriate things during this period. He lovingly played with Duanmu Rong's jade-like hands. Duanmu Rong resisted at first, but seeing that her resistance was futile, she let it go in the end. Humans were creatures that liked to push their luck. Seeing that Duanmu Rong did not resist, Dustless became more and more impudent. However, in the end he did not break through Duanmu Rong's last line of defense. Furthermore, Snow Girl was still outside. Naturally, Duanmu Rong would not stand idly by and watch Dustless do whatever he wanted. Those people from the Mo family went to Shanghai? In Quicksand's stronghold, Wei Zhuang gloomily wiped his mouth as he stared at Red Viper. Recently, he had been in a very bad mood. After failing to attack the Mo family's mechanical city, he parted ways with the Qin kingdom. Even the cunning Li Si of the Prime Minister state had sent the great Qin kingdom's cavalry to encircle Quicksand. During this period of time, Wei Zhuang was fortunate enough to experience life as a fugitive. Wei Zhuang's Quicksand had suffered heavy losses. Not only were a few important subordinates killed by Dustless, but Li Si's betrayal had also dealt a heavy blow to Quicksand. Once they are of no use, they will turn their swords against each other. This is indeed the style of the Qin kingdom. On a mountain peak, Wei Zhuang looked down at the hundreds of corpses below. Without exception, they were all from the Qin kingdom's cavalry. They were all killed by Wei Zhuang, Red Viper, and by Feng. The glorious Quicksand of the past had passed. Now, Quicksand had become a stray dog. Only Red Viper was left. By Feng, Black Qilin, and the others who were rescued by Wei Zhuang. As for the others, they were either killed by Dustless or the Qin kingdom's cavalry. Everyone from the Mo family, including Dustless, listened to the arrangements of the Zifang Zhongliang. Now, they are probably in Shanghai. In fact, it is not only the Mo family. Most of the forces in the anti-Qin alliance have gathered in Shanghai City. The Taoist Xiaoyao Zi and the Yinyang school are the same. Qi Lian introduced in detail. In addition, there is also an important person. Chapter 1821. Big Shot. Hearing this, Wei Zhuang's calm eyes flashed with strong anticipation. A big shot worthy of being addressed by you, wouldn't it be someone with a high position in the empire, Li Si? Qi Lian just curled his lips disapprovingly. Although he has a high position, in the end, Li Si is just someone's lackey. You mean? Wei Zhuang's eyes narrowed, and he smiled meaningfully. You're right, even if Li Si has a high position, he is just a lackey of Ying Zheng. And the one coming to Shanghai this time is Ying Zheng? That's not it. Qi Lian shook his head and said, but it's not that far off. The one replacing Ying Zheng this time is his son, young Master Fu Su. No wonder you said it's a big shot. Wei Zhuang was relieved. Compared to Li Si, young Master Fu Su was indeed a heavyweight. Shanghai, can't lose Lu Sha's traces. Shanghai City in. I don't need you to help me. Dustless, Duanmu Rong, and Xuenu finally arrived at Shanghai City. When Duanmu Rong was about to help Xuenu and Xuenu get off the carriage, the two girls rolled their eyes at each other. One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. The two girls naturally understood such a simple logic. Especially Duanmu Rong's eyes were the most bitter, completely different from her usual aloof self. Last night, she slept very soundly and was taken advantage of by Dustless. Duanmu Rong couldn't flare up about this. If Xuenu knew, where would she put her face? Therefore, she had a cold war with Dustless most of the time, and even ignored him sometimes. Speaking of which, is it really appropriate for you to do this? Although she put on an icy face, Duanmu Rong still cared about Dustless, second only to you. In some aspects, she had even surpassed you. Are you talking about my arrest warrant? Dustless pointed at the arrest warrants hanging on a sign in the distance and laughed disdainfully. All the land under the heavens belongs to the king. All the people on the shores of the land belong to the king? That's a fallacy. The world is so big, Ing Zheng's laws can't control me. His eyes were full of light, and his arrogant tone was full of great confidence. Duanmu Rong knew that Dustless wasn't joking. He did have the strength to not be afraid of King of Qin Ing Zheng. In the Battle of Mechanical City, defeating heroes from all walks of life, Dustless could be said to have been in the limelight. Go away. At this moment, the street in front of them was suddenly filled with angry shouts. Turning his head, he saw a group of Great Qin's cavalrymen heading towards them. They were carrying a strangely shaped prided child. They were squarish in shape and were only covered by a veil. Wu Chen could even see the person within. That's Zhao 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 Yu's eyes narrowed. Zhao of Zhao of Xuyang 6, who is Zhao, Jesus, why are you still standing there? Seeing that Dustless was looking at the people in the net with interest, Duanmu Rong and the Snow Lady quickly pulled him over and hid in the inn like the wind. Idiot, that's a group of people. They're not easy to deal with, the Snow Lady warned. The Snow Lady still had not recovered from her shock. She felt a fatal pressure from those people just now, as if she had met her natural enemy. She felt uneasy all over. I know they're not good people, but there's no need to be so afraid. Wu Chen smiled bitterly. Then, he looked at the crowd that had not yet dispersed through the crack of the door. He could not help but scold. Zhao Gao is just a eunuch. He actually likes to stand out so much. It's unreasonable. Duanmu Rong and the Snow Lady were petrified. If Zhao Gao heard this, the consequences would be no less than the sky falling down. Those swordsmen are Zhao Gao's lackeys. They're called the 6 sword slaves. When the 6 of them work together, they're extremely powerful. It's easy to be severely injured by them. They looked over and saw that it was Gunia and the other members of the Mo family. This inn was called Vacancy Inn, and it was the Mo family's secret base in Mulberry Sea City. The person who had spoken was Gunia. Those swordsmen are so powerful? The members of the Mo family looked at each other. They didn't expect the ordinary-looking 6 sword slaves to be so terrifying. That's the truth. Dustless nodded in agreement with Gunia's words. He said, they're all powerful swordsmen, and they've been trained by the net. Their close cooperation is enough to severely injure a first-rate fighter. No wonder I felt an indescribable pressure from them. It seems like it wasn't an illusion, the Snow Lady said as she patted her chest in fear. Gao Jianli stared at Snow Maiden, who stood beside Wu Chen. For some reason, he felt rather uncomfortable. Even though he did not want to think in a negative direction and even wanted to cast it out of his mind, some things that he did not want to think about were just too difficult to forget. Moreover, he could not help but think in the wrong direction. Hey, I'm the Mo family's big son now. Hurry up and greet me. Dustless suddenly felt someone pat his shoulder. He turned around and saw Tianming, who was smiling so brightly that his eyes were like crescent moons. This little brat. Dustless was speechless when he saw Tianming's smug expression. Just as he was about to teach him a lesson, something strange happened. Chapter 1822. This was the taste of the ancient people. The so-called palanquin was too monotonous. It was only covered by a layer of gauze, without the slightest bright spot. Moreover, People with good eyesight could see who the people in it were. Dustless stared at the palanquin behind Zhao Gao. The people in it were looming. They were very different from Zhao Gao. In Dustless's heart, they were far more important than Zhao Gao. To put it bluntly, Zhao Gao was just an ambitious wolf dog. There was no need to care about him. The next people were the most important special existences related to Dustless's plan. They even had a great relationship with you. This woman. His eyes fell on the head of the mysterious woman in the palanquin. Dustless's eyes changed, quietly turning into scarlet Sharingan. After seeing the person clearly, his pupils suddenly shrank, and he almost instantly understood her identity. Is this concubine Yen of Yinyang School? Dustless recognized the identity of this person at a glance. He still remembered concubine Yen of Yinyang School. This person was the crown prince of Yen, the wife of Yen Dan, and also Yu Er's biological mother. What kind of important person is this? It's incredible to have such a large number of Qin soldiers. Could it be that the king of Qin, Yingjing, came to Shanghai in person? Old Man Ban was surprised and puzzled. He thought that Zhao Gao was a big shot, but compared with the Qin soldiers behind him, he was not worth mentioning. Indeed, Old Man Ban's words also attracted everyone's attention. They all looked at the street outside the door through the paper-covered windows. As for Dustless, his eyes were fixed on concubine Yen. She seems to be restricted. Dustless narrowed his eyes and quietly stared at concubine Yen, forever fixed on her. After a while, his doubts turned into certainty. He looked at the palanquin where concubine Yen was sitting. There was a mysterious force flowing, and he could clearly capture the faint flow of ice aura. It was so mysterious that it was difficult for ordinary people to see it with the naked eye. If I remember correctly, concubine Yan's position in the school of Yinyang is unparalleled. Between the two great guardians and the Eastern Emperor Tai, her position is even higher than the moon goddess. Dustless thought back to the woman called concubine Yen. Legend had it that she was the person the moon god feared the most and even hated the most. Yu Er's extraordinary yin-yang technique was also passed down from concubine Yen. However, Dustless only glanced at concubine Yen a few times before he left. He was sure that there were other big shots from the school of Yinyang. Concubine Yan's strength is not weaker than the moon goddess. Someone who can restrain her. As he thought of this, Dustless's gaze pierced through the limpid autumn waters. He looked directly at the back of the queue and even discovered the two important figures, Yueshin and Xing Hun. However, Dustless's gaze swept past them and landed on the head of the mysterious newcomer at the end. He was dressed in an airtight black robe and wore a gloomy mask on his face. He exuded a unique aura that transcended the world. Even though this mysterious newcomer was just sitting with his legs crossed and did not move at all, he still gave off a very special feeling. His unbelievably calm demeanor was as confident as if he was in control of the future. No wonder concubine Yen is so obedient. It turns out that Donghuang Tai is here. The confusion in his eyes was relieved. The only person who dared to say that he had absolute confidence in suppressing concubine Yen was probably the supreme and mysterious boss of the school of Yinyang, Donghuang Tai, who was regarded as a god by the school of Yinyang. If I remember correctly, the school of Yinyang also broke away from the school of Taoism, right? Dustless looked at Master Ban, Gao Jianli, and the others. Hearing this, a complicated look flashed across Master Ban's eyes. He sighed and said, 500 years ago, the school of Yinyang broke away from the school of Taoism. After generations of heroes, their strength has long surpassed that of the school of Taoism. Now, even if the human sect and heaven sect of the school of Taoism work together, they may not be a match for the school of Yinyang. This bunch of guys. Dustless curled his lips and complained with dissatisfaction, I remember that Taoism focuses on a clear mind and few desires. These guys from the school of Yinyang love to be in the limelight. They might as well join a famous school. Hee, you have a point. The people of the school of Emo smiled and said, they knew a lot about famous schools. The representative and heir of the famous school was the famous big-mouth Gongsun Linglong. It seems that they are going to the port. Gunye frowned and said, Since he had arrived at Sanghi before Dustless, he naturally knew more about the inside story than Dustless. He said with certainty, "Maybe they are going to the Mirage." The Mirage? Dustless nodded slightly. Only the Mirage was worthy of the school of Inyang's full strength. At the same time, a somewhat sage-like figure suddenly appeared in Dustless's mind. Yun Zhongjuan? A bright and deep light shot out of Dustless's eyes. He muttered to himself, "I should find a chance to get in touch with him. He should give me the elixir of immortality." Although Dustless himself was immortal, he had more and more female confidants now. His lifespan was also a big problem. Naturally, he had to ask Yun Zhongjuan to help him. It is necessary to sneak into the Mirage at least once. After glancing at the beautiful woman behind the gauze curtain, Dustless finally withdrew his gaze. Although concubine Yen did not know her, she was still Yu Er's birth mother. How could he leave her in the lurch? The second problem was Yun Zhongjuan. It would be best if he could refine the elixir of immortality. If he could not, he could just kill him. Everyone. At this moment, a gentle voice sounded. It had an indescribable charm and instantly attracted the attention of all the people of the school of Mo. Dustless was the same. He turned around and saw the third leader of the school of Inyang. He was one of the 3 heroes of Qilu, Zhang Liang. Chapter 1823. Zhang Liang was dressed in a simple silk robe and had a gentle temperament. The first impression he gave was that he was a polite person. His delicate features and modest image made people involuntarily let down their guard. His friendly face was filled with an indescribable charm that made people involuntarily relax. If a person let down his guard, he would definitely be full of flaws. As for Zhang Liang, he was an extremely meticulous person. Even the slightest loophole or the slightest clue could not escape his clear eyes. This guy, there is a reason why he can succeed in the future. Dustless gave him an admiring look and immediately cupped his fists. This was the handshake of future generations. It was just a basic benefit. Everyone. Zhang Liang nodded when he saw the situation. Immediately, he faintly glanced at Dustless. When he saw his leisurely appearance, he could not help but frown and muttered in his heart, "This lazy appearance, he doesn't look like a wanted criminal at all." Zhang Liang then shook his head. It was undeniable that with Wu Chen's unfathomable strength, even if he was discovered by the Qin Kingdom soldiers on the street, he could still retreat safely and even defeat the Qin Kingdom's army. "This time, I have an important matter to discuss with everyone." Zhang Liang restrained his complicated emotions and said in a clear voice, "In the past few days, the Qin army has greatly increased the number of soldiers in Shanghai. It is several times more than before. Everyone has seen it just now." Dustless and the people from the Mo family nodded slightly. Naturally, they had also noticed it. Not to mention the previous Qin army, there were hundreds or even thousands of Qin soldiers who had escorted the people from the Inyang school to the Mirage. There are so many people from the Mo family and the Xiang family from the Chu state. It is only a matter of time before the Qin army discovers them. Moreover, don't forget that it is not only the people from the Inyang school who came with us this time. Zhao Gao also brought a trap. Everyone must have seen it before. That makes sense. Dustless touched his chin and agreed with Zhang Liang's view. Then he smiled cunningly and said, "I have a good plan that can temporarily hide from the eyes and ears of the Qin state." Let's see. Everyone's gazes looked towards Dustless without prior agreement, looking rather expectant. What is this guy trying to do? Seeing this, Zhang Liang's heart skipped a beat. Looking at Dustless's sly smile, his expression changed slightly. He felt that the sly smile was directed at him. As for the Mo family's stronghold in Mulberry Sea City, you only need to leave a few people behind to be in charge of communication. As for the other members of the Mo family, I suggest that they hide in the wilderness for the time being to recuperate. As for me, Tanming and Xiaoyu, at this point, Dustless's cunning smile deepened. The 3 of us will become Confucian disciples and study together. Huh. Everyone was dumbfounded by Dustless's plan. The first, retreat deep into the mountains to recuperate, was still acceptable, but the next part of sneaking into the Confucian school was rather impressive. The second condition, I'm sorry, but I can't accept it. After a moment of silence, Zhang Liang shook his head and refused. Everyone, although my heart is with the school of Mo, I think everyone should know that within the Confucian school, it is not my words that carry weight. The one who makes the decisions is eldest senior brother Fu Nian. Could it be that Mr. Zhang Liang thinks it is inappropriate? Dustless asked indifferently. We are all members of the Anti-Qin Alliance, so there is no need to draw such a clear line. Our ideals are the same. The three of us are wanted criminals of the empire, so we can sneak into the Confucian school without anyone noticing. That makes sense. Old Ban and the others suddenly understood. As the saying went, the most dangerous place was often the safest place. Dustless was doing the opposite, operating under the eyes of the enemy. Could it be that I had a bad premonition just now? The reason is really this guy. Zhang Liang's forehead was covered in faint sweat. If it were Tianming and Xiaoyu, he could reluctantly accept it. Although these two brats were talented and intelligent, they were still children in the end. If it were just them entering the Mo family, Zhang Liang wouldn't be worried. But the problem lay with Dustless. This guy's origins were unknown, his goals were unknown, and his strength was unfathomable. Who knew what crazy things he would do? If Dustless took the initiative to tell Qin Bing that he was a disciple of the Confucian school, then the entire school would be in trouble. As members of the Anti-Qin Alliance, Mr. Zhang Liang wouldn't refuse us, would he? Dustless chuckled and continued, I heard that Mr. Zhang and Wei Zhuang are very close. Dustless deliberately lowered his voice, but Dustless could hear the meaning behind his words. If Zhang Liang allowed Dustless and the others to enter the Confucian school, he would naturally be cleared of suspicion of colluding with Wei Zhuang. But if he refused, humans were emotional, and when faced with setbacks, it was inevitable that they would let their imagination run wild. This guy, what is he planning to do by entering the Confucian school? Zhang Liang was slightly nervous. He naturally knew the viciousness of Dustless's move. If he refused, then the relationship between the Mo family and Zhang Liang might be broken. It seems that I can only agree for now. Helplessly, Zhang Liang could only agree to Dustless. He couldn't afford to lose the Mo family, let alone go their separate ways. If the Mo family was gone, who would he rely on in the Anti-Qin Alliance? To Zhang Liang, the Mo family was a chess piece. Not only the Mo family, but also Wei Zhuang. Zhang Liang didn't want to lose either side. They were all suitable chess pieces to deal with the Qin state and could help him fulfill his ambition of reviving his country. Especially now, even if he knew that it might be a trap, he still had to jump in. That's good. I also want to find out if Yen Dan's death has anything to do with this guy. With a wise light in his eyes, Zhang Liang nodded and said, in that case, the three of you will follow me into the Confucian school. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.